Good evening. Welcome. A tranquil evening unfolds. We extend a warm invitation to this moment, a shared journey into understanding. The timeless practice of Zen Buddhism provides a gentle framework for exploring our inner landscape. As we settle into this stillness, perhaps you might feel inclined to share the country where you rest and the current local hour. From which unique point on this vast planet are you joining us in this quiet communion? This sanctuary offers a quiet opportunity for profound introspection, fostering a serene mind and an awakened spirit. Within this gentle embrace, simply exist, draw breath, and permit these narratives to guide your attention inward. The wisdom you seek resides inherently within you. Our purpose is merely to rediscover its presence. Should these reflections resonate deeply, know this tranquil space remains available for your return. If you wish to sustain this quiet harbor, consider subscribing. Now, with a deep breath, let us fully arrive in this moment, ready to explore the subtle art of finding peace, not in endless pursuit, but in the deliberate cessation of striving, much like the measured cooling of a molten form. The foundry's calm, embracing the cooling silence. We often perceive peace as a distant shore, a state to be relentlessly pursued, a prize that forever eludes our grasp amidst the ceaseless clamor of daily life and the internal churn of our thoughts. This incessant search, fueled by a deep-seated craving for tranquility, can paradoxically perpetuate a cycle of discontent, a constant feeling of not enoughness, a subtle form of suffering that whispers of what we lack rather than celebrating what already is. Tonight, let us shift our perspective, allowing the idea of peace to emerge not from frantic effort, but from a profound understanding of natural processes, from the inherent wisdom embedded in the way things simply are, without needing our forceful intervention or persistent manipulation. Consider the intense heat and transformation within a metalsmith's forge, a place where raw material is brought to its most fluid, malleable state, representing the tumultuous, unformed aspects of our own experience. In a remote valley, nestled beside a roaring river that powered its massive bellows, stood Kaito's foundry, a place where the air thrummed with the intense, visceral awareness of heat and the weighty density of metal. Kaito, a master metalsmith whose hands bore the indelible marks of decades spent shaping steel, moved with a groundedness that belied his age, his movement's intentionality itself, each step a testament to years of practiced wisdom. His young apprentice, Ren, however, was a whirlwind of youthful impatience, his energy boundless, his desire to see immediate results almost palpable in the smoky air. Ren often found himself restless during the long, seemingly inactive periods after a pour, when the molten iron, now gleaming in its mold, began its slow, deliberate journey back to solidity, a process that demanded nothing but time and an observing awareness. One sweltering afternoon, after a particularly demanding pour of a large, intricate gear, Ren paced restlessly around the cooling mold, his mind racing ahead to the next stage of filing and finishing. He longed to rush the process, to somehow accelerate the metal's transformation, convinced that true progress lay in constant action, in the immediate engagement with the next task. Kaito watched him with a gentle, knowing gaze, the flickering light of the cooling metal casting long shadows across his serene face. The master's stillness was a profound stillness, an embodiment of patience that seemed almost at odds with the dynamic, fiery energy of the forge itself. Yet it was precisely this quality that allowed him to work with such masterful precision and achieve seamless integration with the demanding materials. Kaito, sensing Ren's agitation, placed a calloused hand on the apprentice's shoulder, a gesture of quiet reassurance amidst the low hum of the cooling metal. He explained that the metal, though appearing still, was undergoing a complex, molecular dance, releasing internal stresses as its atoms realigned into a more stable, crystalline structure. This period of cooling, he emphasized, was not an absence of activity, but a crucial stage of consolidation, a time when the material itself found its inherent strength and integrity, forming its true, lasting shape. To rush this delicate equilibrium, he warned, would only introduce flaws, creating unseen weaknesses in the very core of the finished piece, leading to eventual breakage or instability, much like forcing a thought before its time. This quiet observation of the cooling metal offers a potent metaphor for our own inner lives, especially when we find ourselves caught in the relentless pursuit of an elusive inner peace. Just as the molten iron must be left undisturbed to solidify naturally, our minds too require spaciousness and non-striving after periods of intense emotion or mental activity. The tendency to immediately grasp for a solution, to force a sense of calm, or to distract ourselves from discomfort is akin to trying to cool the metal too quickly. It creates internal tension, a deeper, more subtle form of craving, or trishna, that prevents true resolution. Instead, we are invited to simply allow, to observe the natural flow of our internal states, trusting that, given time and presence, they too will settle into a more coherent and peaceful form without our constant, forceful intervention. The principle of impermanence, or anicca, is beautifully illustrated in this process. The metal is not static. It transitions from liquid to solid, each phase a temporary manifestation. Similarly, our thoughts, emotions, and sensations are in a constant state of flux, arising and passing away. When we attempt to cling to a pleasant state or push away an unpleasant one, we create suffering. Kaito's lesson was a practical demonstration of detachment, not indifference, but a wise recognition that everything has its natural cycle. By allowing the metal to cool, he was practicing a form of equanimity, accepting its current state without judgment or desire for it to be otherwise, understanding that the cessation of outward striving was the very path to its eventual strength and stability. True inner peace, then, is not found by ceaselessly chasing after it, like a fleeting shadow, but by cultivating an acceptance of what is, allowing our internal landscape to undergo its own natural processes of settling and transformation. It is about understanding that the mind, much like the cooling metal, possesses an innate capacity for self-regulation and a return to equilibrium when given the space and freedom to do so. This approach fosters a deep sense of contentment and sufficiency, moving us away from the endless seeking that defines craving, and instead towards a radical acceptance of our present reality. This shift in perspective is an ontological shift, a fundamental change in how we relate to our own experience, enabling a deeper, more authentic sense of well-being to emerge organically. The revered master, Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, once articulated this wisdom beautifully, stating, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." This echoes Kaito's lesson: to approach the cooling metal, or indeed our own mental states, with a beginner's mind, or shoshin, is to be open to the process as it unfolds, without preconceived notions or the expert's urge to control. It is a call to full presence, to engage in conscious breathing and anapanasati, observing awareness without judgment, allowing the natural flow of transformation to occur. This mindful observation is a path, a magga, that leads not to a forced outcome, but to the natural emergence of clarity and profound stillness. By embracing the quiet period of cooling, Kaito taught Ren a profound lesson in the wisdom of non-action, or Wu Wei, in the context of intense physical labor. This wasn't about idleness, but about a deep, intuitive understanding of when to act and when to simply allow. The peace that emerged from the foundry floor was not manufactured. It was discovered in the patient observation of a natural process, in the trust that the metal knew how to become strong. This groundedness, this visceral awareness of the material's inherent nature, allowed both the metal and the observer to find a deeper, more enduring sense of inner freedom, a peace born of acceptance and a deep recognition of the universal principles of existence, free from the suffering of Trishna. As we carry this understanding forward, let us consider how often our own search for tranquility is hindered by our attempts to force, to control, or to rush the delicate processes of our inner world. The next time we feel the heat of striving or the tension of impatience, we might recall the master metalsmith and the cooling iron. We will next explore another facet of this wisdom, delving into how we can find stillness not in the absence of tension, but within its very fabric, much like the intricate and balanced threads on a weaver's loom, creating strength from inherent forces. The weaver's knot, finding stillness in tension. Often, we find ourselves yearning for a state of peace that feels utterly devoid of struggle, a tranquil expanse where no difficulties ever arise, a perfect calm that we believe can only exist in the absence of any friction or challenge. This deeply ingrained desire leads us to resist the very textures of life, the inevitable tensions that are woven into the fabric of our existence, much like the taut threads in a robust textile. We mistakenly believe that to achieve serenity, we must eliminate all sources of discomfort, striving relentlessly to smooth out every wrinkle, to untangle every snarl, to silence every discordant note. Yet what if true peace, a profound stillness, were not found in this elusive absence, but rather in a skillful, compassionate engagement with these very tensions, a recognition that strength and harmony often emerge precisely from the interplay of opposing forces, from the groundedness found in embracing the full spectrum of our experience. In a sun-dappled workshop, where the rhythmic clack of the loom provided a steady, almost meditative pulse, Lena, a weaver of exquisite tapestries, meticulously worked her craft. The air was thick with the earthy scent of wool and the faint, sweet aroma of linseed oil from the polished wood. Her fingers, nimble and knowing, danced across the warp and weft, guiding threads of vibrant indigo and deep ochre into intricate patterns that told stories of ancient forests and quiet streams. Each thread held its own delicate tension, a precise tautness essential for the integrity of the cloth. However, today, a stubborn knot had formed deep within the warp, a tight, unyielding tangle that snagged the shuttle, disrupting the smooth flow of her work and pulling at the larger tapestry of her calm. Lena's initial reaction was a familiar surge of frustration, a subtle form of craving for the knot to simply vanish, for the process to resume its effortless rhythm. She tugged at the offending threads, her brow furrowed in a concentrated effort to force the tangle free, but each forceful pull only seemed to tighten its grip, making the situation more rigid and resistant. The knot, a small, unassuming cluster of fibers, began to feel like a monumental obstacle, a symbol of all the unforeseen difficulties that could derail her carefully planned intentions. The subtle vibrations of the loom, usually a source of comfort, now seemed to amplify her growing impatience, creating a resonant internal disquiet that mirrored the physical obstruction before her. She paused, her hands hovering above the intricate web, feeling the sharp edge of her own rising irritation, a visceral awareness of her desire for things to be otherwise. This immediate resistance to the knot, Lena's impulse to forcefully resolve it, mirrors a common human tendency to recoil from discomfort or challenge, believing that peace can only be found by eliminating all sources of friction. In Buddhist teachings, this reaction can be seen as a form of trishna, a thirst or craving not just for pleasant experiences, but also for the absence of unpleasant ones. When we encounter an obstacle, whether external like Lena's knot or internal like a difficult emotion, our mind often generates a secondary layer of suffering through our resistance to it. We expend valuable energy fighting against the reality of the situation, rather than observing it with equanimity, allowing it to simply be. This struggle against what is prevents us from finding the nuanced wisdom that might emerge from a more patient, accepting engagement with the perceived problem. The venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, a master of mindfulness, once taught, "When another person makes you suffer, it is because he suffers deeply within himself, and his suffering is spilling over. He does not need punishment, he needs help." That's the message he is sending. While this quote speaks of interpersonal suffering, its core message extends to our relationship with internal and external challenges, understanding the source of the suffering or tension with compassion, rather than simply reacting against it. It invites us to approach the knot, whether in thread or in life, not as an adversary to be vanquished, but as a phenomenon to be understood, a part of the natural flow that requires our mindful, compassionate attention and a groundedness in the present moment rather than a frantic struggle. Lena, recognizing the futility of her forceful approach, took a deep, conscious breath, allowing her shoulders to relax, her hands to soften. She leaned closer to the loom, her gaze no longer frantic, but filled with a quiet, observing awareness. She began to trace the individual threads that comprised the knot, feeling their distinct textures, noticing how they intertwined, how one thread pulled against another, creating the very tension that held them fast. Her focus shifted from fixing the knot to simply understanding its architecture, its precise mechanics. She noticed the slight give in one strand, the unexpected slack in another, sensing the delicate balance of forces at play within the tightly bound fibers. This shift from forceful intervention to meticulous observation marked the beginning of her genuine engagement with the problem. Instead of pulling, she began to gently push, to coax, to subtly adjust the surrounding threads, creating tiny pockets of spaciousness around the core of the tangle. Her movements became slower, more deliberate, a rhythm of gentle pressure and release, a dance of subtle adjustments rather than brute force. She used a fine, smooth bone tool, not to pry, but to separate individual filaments, allowing them to breathe, to find their own natural alignment. The sounds of the workshop, the distant river, the gentle creak of the loom faded into a background hum as her entire being became immersed in the tactile and visual details of the knot, a profound stillness settling over her as she worked with radical acceptance. Slowly, incrementally, with a patience born of deep presence, the knot began to yield. It did not unravel suddenly, but rather softened, loosened its grip, until with a final, almost imperceptible shift, the threads found their proper place, their individual tensions rebalanced into a harmonious whole. The loom returned to its smooth, unimpeded operation, the shuttle gliding effortlessly across the newly liberated warp. Lena felt a deep sense of contentment, not from having conquered an enemy, but from having understood and worked with the inherent nature of the material, allowing the tension to resolve itself through mindful, skillful engagement, a seamless integration of her intention with the material's reality. Lena's experience with the knot illustrates a vital lesson about finding peace amidst the inevitable tensions of life. Peace is not necessarily the absence of challenges, but rather the capacity to engage with them with equanimity, an inner freedom that allows us to observe and respond skillfully without being overwhelmed by craving or aversion. Just as the loom's strength comes from the balanced tension of its threads, our own resilience and inner peace emerge from our ability to accept and work with the complexities of our existence. This requires a groundedness in the present moment, a visceral awareness of our own reactions, and a willingness to explore the mechanics of our internal knots with compassion and patience, recognizing that every tension holds the potential for a new kind of harmony and a deeper understanding of our original nature, rather than a source of suffering. This understanding, that stillness can be found within the very heart of tension, invites us to consider how patience and a trust in unfolding processes shape our experience of peace. Just as Lena learned to let the threads find their own balance over time, we often find ourselves impatient for results, rushing towards a perceived outcome. Let us now turn our attention to the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts that occur when we allow things to mature in their own time, exploring the profound wisdom embedded in the slow, deliberate revelation of true form. Much like the way pigments on a fresh fresco wall gradually bind and reveal their lasting color, a testament to the hue of unfolding time. The pigment's patience, the hue of unfolding time. Our modern world often instills in us a profound impatience, a subtle yet pervasive craving for immediate gratification, for instant results, for the swift manifestation of our desires. We live in a culture that values speed and efficiency, often leading us to believe that waiting is a sign of weakness or inefficiency, that true progress demands constant acceleration. This mindset can extend deeply into our spiritual and emotional lives, making us restless in our search for peace, demanding instant enlightenment or immediate relief from discomfort. But what if the most profound forms of peace, the most enduring insights, and the richest expressions of beauty, like the vibrant depth of a master painting, require a patient, unhurried surrender to the natural rhythms of unfolding time, a quiet trust in processes that cannot be rushed or forced? In a high-ceilinged studio, filled with the cool, damp scent of fresh lime plaster and the earthy aroma of ground minerals, Matteo, a fresco artist of considerable renown, worked with an intensity that bordered on a quiet obsession. His craft demanded an exceptional blend of speed and precision, for the pigments had to be applied to the wet plaster before it dried, binding chemically to create colors that would last for centuries. Today, he was working on a large panel depicting a serene landscape. The sky a delicate gradient of blues and greys, the distant hills a soft muted green. He had just finished laying down a particularly rich shade of ultramarine for the deepest part of the sky, its wet sheen promising a vibrant future, yet its current lack of definitive hue was a source of subtle agitation for him. Matteo, despite his years of experience, still found himself wrestling with the inherent slowness of the fresco process. He would often stand back, wiping a hand across his brow, his gaze fixed on the freshly applied pigments, silently urging them to dry faster, to reveal their true, permanent color. The wet pigments, though beautiful in their own right, possessed a certain translucency, a provisional quality that left him longing for the final, settled hue, the definitive statement of the color. This subtle impatience, this yearning for the finished state, created a quiet tension within him, a feeling of mild suffering rooted in his desire to bypass the natural, unhurried progression of the material itself, a subtle form of trishna for the outcome. Matteo's impatience for the pigments to dry and reveal their final color is a powerful illustration of how our craving for immediate results can obscure the beauty and wisdom inherent in the process itself. This desire to rush to the finished product, to bypass the intermediate stages, is a common manifestation of trishna, the thirst for things to be other than they are in the present moment. In the context of the fresco, the true, lasting color, its profound stillness, emerges only through the patient, unhurried chemical reaction between the pigment and the drying lime. To demand immediate clarity or resolution is to deny the very principle of anicca, impermanence, which teaches that all phenomena are in a constant state of change and unfolding, and that wisdom, or prajna, often requires us to simply observe this transformation with equanimity. The great Zen master Dogen, in his teachings, emphasized the importance of zazen, of simply sitting, stating. To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. Matteo's experience can be seen as a mirror to this. To truly understand the pigment, he must forget his own impatient self, allowing the material itself to teach him through its own inherent nature and unfolding. This perspective encourages a deep, conscious breathing, a full presence, where the act of patient observation becomes a form of meditation, leading not to a forced outcome, but to an enlightened understanding of the interconnectedness of time, material, and self. One afternoon, while waiting for a particularly vibrant green to set, Matteo decided to stop urging and simply observe. He knelt close to the wall, his eyes tracing the microscopic rivulets of moisture as they slowly evaporated, leaving behind tiny, almost imperceptible crystals of lime that encapsulated the pigment particles. He noticed how the color, initially a muted, almost watery green, gradually intensified, gaining depth and resonance with each passing minute, a subtle shift in its visceral awareness. It was not a sudden transformation, but a continuous, seamless integration of the pigment into the plaster, a chemical dance occurring at a molecular level that was both profound and utterly silent, a testament to the natural flow of time. He began to appreciate the subtle beauty of this intermediate state, the way the wetness diffused the light, giving the colors a soft, luminous quality before their final hardening. He ran a gentle finger over a patch that had already dried, feeling the smooth, almost stone-like texture, a stark contrast to the damp, yielding surface beside it. It was a tangible lesson in patience, in the wisdom of allowing, in trusting the intrinsic intelligence of the materials. The impatience that had previously churned within him began to dissipate, replaced by a quiet wonder, a profound stillness that arose from his deep, focused attention to the intricate, unhurried process of natural transformation. Through this patient observation, Matteo realized that the most lasting beauty, the true vibrancy of the fresco, was not something he could force into existence, but something that emerged from a collaborative dance between his skill and the inherent properties of the materials and time itself. The drying was not an obstacle to be overcome, but an essential, sacred pause, a necessary phase for the pigments to fully integrate, to become one with the wall, achieving their ultimate expression. He found a deep contentment in this unfolding, a radical acceptance of the pace dictated by nature, rather than the artificial urgency of his own desires. Matteo's journey with the fresco pigments offers a powerful insight into the nature of peace and our incessant search for it. True contentment, a deep inner peace, often eludes us when we are constantly striving for a future state, failing to appreciate the richness and wisdom embedded in the present moment and its unfolding. By embracing impermanence, or anicca, and allowing processes to mature naturally, we cultivate a beginner's mind, a shoshin, that is open to the subtle revelations of time. This practice of letting go of our craving for immediate results, this non-attachment to outcomes, allows for a profound stillness to emerge, a spaciousness in our minds where wisdom, or prajna, can genuinely blossom. It is a lesson in sufficiency, recognizing that the present moment, in its evolving truth, already contains all that is needed. This understanding of patience, of trusting the slow, deliberate revelation of truth, prepares us to delve deeper into the mechanics of inner harmony. Just as the pigments find their lasting hue through chemical alignment over time, our own internal peace is often a result of precise self-awareness and the careful alignment of our actions with our core intentions. Let us now consider the intricate, quiet meshing of well-oiled gears in a complex machine, where every component finds its perfect place, creating a powerful yet serene rhythm, exploring how such alignment can bring a profound stillness to the very heart of our being. The gear's harmony, alignment in the machine's heart. We often imagine inner peace as a state achieved through grand gestures or dramatic renunciations, a profound stillness that demands a complete overhaul of our lives, a radical departure from the ordinary. Yet the most enduring forms of tranquility frequently emerge from a meticulous attention to the subtle mechanics of our daily existence, from the precise alignment of our actions with our deepest intentions, much like the intricate workings of a finely tuned machine. When we experience internal discord, a persistent hum of disquiet, we might mistakenly seek external remedies, believing that a change in circumstances will magically quiet the noise. But what if the source of our agitation, the subtle vibration that disrupts our calm, lies not in the world outside, but in the minute, almost imperceptible misalignments within our own internal machinery, requiring a careful, intentional adjustment of our very being, a profound embodiment of our core values. In the heart of a bustling factory, where the air was a symphony of metallic clanks and the rhythmic hiss of steam, Anya, a brilliant mechanical engineer, knelt beside a colossal, multi-axis milling machine. This leviathan of steel and circuitry, designed to carve intricate components from raw metal, was her current challenge. Despite its immense power and precise functionality, a persistent, low-frequency vibration emanated from its core, a subtle tremor that defied all conventional diagnostics. It wasn't a catastrophic fault, but a continuous, unsettling oscillation, a dissonant hum that permeated the surrounding space, hinting at an underlying imbalance within its complex network of gears and shafts, disturbing the otherwise perfect execution of its heavy, mechanical dance. Anya had spent days poring over schematics, checking tolerances, and replacing components, yet the vibrations stubbornly persisted. Her initial approach had been one of forceful intervention, a craving for a quick, definitive solution. She had tightened bolts with immense pressure, adjusted settings with an almost aggressive certainty, but each attempt only seemed to temporarily mask the issue, or in some cases, even exacerbate it. The machine, in its colossal indifference, seemed to mock her impatience, her trishna for an immediate cessation of the problem. This relentless striving to impose her will upon the machine, rather than listening to its subtle feedback, mirrored her own internal struggle with a persistent sense of unease, a feeling that something within her own life was similarly out of true, creating a subtle, internal suffering. Frustrated but undeterred, Anya decided to shift her approach, moving from forceful action to a profound stillness of observation, a practice of equanimous observation. She powered down the machine, then began to meticulously re-examine each gear, each shaft, each bearing with a renewed sense of full presence. She didn't just look, she listened, she felt. She ran her gloved hand along the cool, dense metal, feeling for the slightest irregularity, the most minute deviation in the surface texture. She noted the subtle resistance mechanical of each component as she rotated them by hand, listening for whispers of friction, for the almost imperceptible sounds of metal on metal that spoke of imperfect contact. Her focus became absolute, a form of conscious breathing applied to the very mechanics of the machine, a deep, visceral awareness of its material truth. It was in this state of deep, non-striving attention that the insight finally dawned. The vibration was not caused by a single, obvious fault, but by a series of tiny, cumulative misalignments across multiple gears, each one individually negligible, but collectively creating a resonant frequency. One gear was imperceptibly off-center, another had a micro-fracture in its tooth, a third suffered from a minute imbalance in its density. The problem wasn't a single bad part, but a subtle disharmony in the seamless integration of the whole system, an interconnectedness where each small imperfection contributed to the larger disquiet. This realization was a moment of profound self-knowledge, understanding that the machine's integrity, like her own, depended on the harmonious interaction of its many parts. Anya then embarked on a painstaking process of minute adjustment. With specialized tools, she patiently recalibrated each gear, not by forcing it, but by coaxing it into its perfect rotational axis, ensuring its optimal meshing with its counterparts. She applied a new, high-viscosity lubricant, allowing it to penetrate every crevice, reducing friction to an absolute minimum. Each adjustment was deliberate, a sacred pause before the next action, requiring her complete concentration, her mind utterly absorbed in the present task. This wasn't about imposing a solution, but about discovering the machine's inherent design, its original nature, and gently guiding it back into its intended alignment, a practice of deep respect for the material and its purpose. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the machine began to respond. The low hum softened, the subtle tremor diminished, replaced by a deeper, more stable thrum. As each gear found its precise place, its optimal point of contact, the collective vibration subsided, giving way to a profound stillness, a quiet power that spoke of perfect functionality. The air in the factory around the machine seemed to calm, the previous dissonance replaced by a harmonious, almost melodic whir. It was a tangible manifestation of nirodha, the cessation of suffering caused by the misalignment, a demonstration of how a persistent problem could dissolve not through brute force, but through meticulous attention and profound understanding. Observing the now smoothly operating machine, Anya felt a deep resonance within herself. She realized that her own inner disquiet, her persistent sense of searching for an elusive peace, often stemmed from similar misalignments between her actions, her thoughts, and her core intentionality. She recognized moments where her daily tasks felt out of sync with her deeper values. where her words didn't quite align with her true feelings, creating internal friction. The machine had become a teacher, demonstrating that inner peace, or nirvana, was not a destination to be found externally, but a state cultivated through precise self-awareness, through the ethical practice of aligning her inner and outer self with integrity and compassion, a path, or magga, towards true contentment. This experience brought Anya a renewed understanding of the Noble Eightfold Path, particularly right action, right effort, and right mindfulness. Her diligent work on the machine was an embodiment of sila, ethics, in action, a commitment to precision and truth. The quiet harmony of the gears, now working in seamless integration, reflected the Buddha mind, the state of perfect functionality and inner freedom that arises when all aspects of self are aligned. It was a powerful lesson in how the mundane, the industrial, could reveal profound spiritual truths, teaching her that the incessant search for peace often ends when we turn our attention inward to the intricate mechanics of our own being and patiently bring ourselves back into alignment. As Anya packed her tools, the quiet, steady hum of the machine filled the space with a sense of groundedness and purpose. She had not found peace by escaping the factory, but by engaging deeply with its challenges, discovering a profound stillness within its very heart. This experience of precise alignment and the resulting harmony within a complex system now guides us to consider another form of unseen structure, the hidden networks that support life from beneath the surface. Let us now delve into the silent, pervasive embrace of the mycelium, exploring how these unseen roots of quiet connect and sustain, offering a powerful metaphor for the interconnectedness that underpins our own inner tranquility and the subtle ways peace is nourished from below. The mycelium's embrace, unseen roots of quiet. In our relentless search for peace, we often fixate on what is visible, tangible, and immediately apparent, overlooking the profound, often silent, forces that operate beneath the surface of our awareness. We seek grand epiphanies, external solutions, or easily discernible paths, rarely pausing to consider the vast, intricate networks of support that quietly sustain life, both in the natural world and within ourselves. This oversight can lead to a feeling of isolated struggle, a sense that we must generate all our peace from individual effort, rather than recognizing the deep interconnected web of existence that already cradles and nourishes us. What if true, enduring tranquility, a spaciousness of mind, is not an individual attainment, but an emergent property of recognizing and trusting the unseen, supportive structures that bind everything together, a profound stillness born from understanding our inherent belonging within a larger living system. Deep within a temperate forest, where ancient oaks stretch their gnarled branches towards the sky, Dr. Chen, a mycologist whose passion lay in the hidden world beneath the forest floor, moved with a quiet reverence. The air was cool and moist, carrying the earthy scent of decaying leaves and damp soil. While most people admired the towering trees or the vibrant wildflowers, Dr. Chen's gaze was always drawn downward to the rich, dark earth, the true heart of the forest's unseen life. She knew that beneath the seemingly inert ground lay an astonishing, silent universe of fungal networks. A vast, intricate web of mycelium, the true architects of life's profound interconnectedness, constantly at work, unseen and unheard, yet profoundly vital. For years, Dr. Chen had focused on the individual fruiting bodies of fungi, the mushrooms that spectacularly emerged from the soil, treating them as discrete entities. Her research had been driven by a craving for clear, quantifiable data for the easily observable phenomena that could be catalogued and analyzed in a laboratory. This narrow focus, while yielding valuable insights, had inadvertently created a subtle form of trishna, a desire for the readily apparent, causing her to overlook the deeper, more pervasive reality. She found herself feeling a certain disquiet, a sense that she was missing a crucial piece of the ecological puzzle. Much like searching for peace only in moments of peak joy, rather than in the quiet, supportive hum of daily existence, a subtle suffering of superficiality. One crisp autumn morning, as she carefully excavated a section of forest soil, her perspective underwent an ontological shift. She gently brushed away layers of leaf litter, revealing not just individual roots, but an astonishingly dense, white filigree of threads, a complex, almost luminous network of mycelium extending in every direction. It was a vast, sprawling, living fabric, permeating every inch of the soil, its delicate yet resilient structure a testament to its pervasive presence. She felt its subtle viscosity as it clung to the soil particles, its incredible density as it formed a living matrix. This was not merely a collection of individual organisms, it was a single, vast, distributed consciousness, a silent, subterranean sangha, constantly communicating and sharing resources, embodying the very essence of the Dharma. This intricate network, she realized, was the true brain and nervous system of the forest. It connected trees of different species, allowing them to share nutrients, water, and even warning signals about pests. Old dying trees could pass their remaining resources to young saplings through these fungal bridges. The mycelium itself did not strive. It simply expanded, slowly, patiently, with a full presence that was entirely dedicated to its function. Its growth was an act of pure equanimity, an embodiment of non-striving, an acceptance of its role as the quiet, foundational support for the entire ecosystem. It was a profound lesson in how life, in its original nature, thrives not through isolated competition, but through deep, silent, and often unseen collaboration, a form of natural flow or wu-wei. Dr. Chen began to draw powerful parallels between the mycelial network and the human experience of inner peace. She realized that just as the forest's vitality depended on these hidden connections, our own sense of well-being, our inner freedom and profound stillness, is often sustained by unseen threads of support. These are not always obvious relationships, but can be the inherited wisdom of generations, the subtle energetic resonance of a shared intention, the collective unconscious, or even the underlying universal principles of compassion or metta that bind humanity. Peace, she understood, was not an isolated state, but a quality that emerged from recognizing and trusting this deep, fundamental interconnectedness, a radical acceptance of our place within a larger whole, a true embodiment of our shared existence. The mycelium's quiet, continuous activity also offered a powerful lesson in sufficiency. It did not hoard resources but facilitated their distribution, ensuring that every part of the forest received what it needed. This contrasted sharply with the human tendency towards craving or trishna, always seeking more, always feeling a sense of lack. By observing the mycelium, Dr. Chen found a deep contentment, a realization that much of what we need for our inner peace, for our very sustenance, is already present, already flowing through unseen channels, requiring only our observing awareness and gratitude to recognize it. It was a visceral awareness that true abundance lies in recognizing the generosity of the interconnected web, not in isolated acquisition, leading to a deeper sense of groundedness. This realization brought Dr. Chen a profound sense of inner peace, a spaciousness in her mind that transcended the boundaries of individual organisms. She understood that the concept of anatta, or no self, was not an abstract philosophical idea, but a living, breathing reality, demonstrated by the seamless integration of the mycelium with its environment, its lack of a fixed, independent self. It showed her that sunyata, emptiness, did not mean nothingness, but rather the absence of inherent, separate existence, revealing the profound interconnectedness of all phenomena. The mycelium, in its tireless, selfless work, was a quiet bodhisattva, sacrificing its individual form to nourish the greater forest, a powerful illustration of karuna, universal compassion. Dr. Chen's journey from focusing on individual mushrooms to embracing the vastness of the mycelial network taught her that the incessant search for peace often ends when we look beyond the surface, beyond the obvious manifestations, and acknowledge the deep, silent, supportive structures that underpin all life. This understanding fosters a deep sense of contentment and allows for a profound stillness to emerge, a peace that is not fragile or fleeting, but deeply rooted in the very fabric of existence. It is a reminder that we are never truly alone, and that our inner freedom is intimately tied to the recognition of our place within this vast, interconnected web, a peace that is always available when we cultivate an observing awareness of these hidden connections. As Dr. Chen carefully covered the exposed mycelium, returning it to its protective darkness, she carried with her a renewed sense of groundedness and a quiet appreciation for the unseen. The forest, once a collection of individual plants, now felt like a single, breathing entity unified by this hidden network. This profound understanding of unseen support and interconnectedness now leads us to consider another form of temporary yet essential structure: the urban scaffolding that supports the creation of enduring buildings, offering a parallel insight into how temporary aids can support the revelation of an enduring inner core, helping us to release what is transient and trust in our inherent strength. The scaffolding's gift: temporary support, enduring core. In our incessant search for peace, we often become deeply attached to the external supports, the routines, the relationships, or even the material possessions that we believe provide us with stability and comfort. We cling to these temporary structures, fearing that without them, we would collapse, unable to stand on our own. This attachment, this craving for external validation and security, can create a subtle form of suffering, a persistent anxiety about loss, and a reluctance to embrace the natural impermanence of all things. But what if true, profound stillness, a radical acceptance of our inherent strength, emerges not from holding on to these supports indefinitely, but from understanding their temporary nature, from recognizing their role in helping us build our own enduring inner core, and ultimately, from the wisdom of letting them go when their purpose is fulfilled. In the heart of a bustling city, where the clamor of traffic and the distant hum of construction formed a constant urban symphony, Marco, a seasoned construction worker, stood atop a towering building. For months, this steel and glass edifice had been shrouded in a complex web of scaffolding, a temporary city within a city made of interlocking metal pipes and sturdy wooden planks. The air around him was thick with the scent of sawdust and the metallic tang of fresh welding. He had spent countless hours navigating this skeletal structure, his boots clanking on the metal, his hands expertly tightening clamps, helping to erect the building's formidable exterior. Now, the time had come to dismantle it, to peel away the layers of support, revealing the finished, gleaming structure beneath, a process that filled him with a quiet, reflective satisfaction. Marco's initial years in construction had been marked by a subtle anxiety, a craving for the security of the scaffolding. He had grown accustomed to its intricate network, the sense of safety it provided as he worked at dizzying heights. The idea of its removal, of the building standing bare against the sky, had once filled him with a vague unease, a fear that the structure, or even his own sense of purpose, might somehow falter without its external supports. This attachment to the temporary, this trishna for a constant, visible framework, had created a persistent, low-level suffering within him, a reluctance to fully trust in the inherent strength of the completed work, and by extension, his own capacity. He had sought peace in the visible, tangible support, rather than the enduring strength of the unseen core. However, over the years, Marco had learned to see the scaffolding not as a permanent fixture, but as a wise, temporary teacher. He began to understand its engineering, its careful design to support, protect, and provide access during the crucial phases of construction. He observed how each pipe, each plank, though essential for a time, was never intended to be part of the final building. Its purpose was to facilitate, to enable the creation of something far more substantial and lasting. This shift in perspective, this non-attachment to the temporary, allowed him to approach the dismantling process with a profound stillness, a sense of groundedness, rather than the anxiety of loss. He was cultivating a mindful presence, a deep, visceral awareness of the impermanence inherent in the construction process. This process of building and dismantling scaffolding offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. We often erect mental and emotional scaffolding around ourselves, beliefs, habits, relationships, or even identities that serve a crucial purpose during certain developmental stages. These supports help us navigate challenges, build resilience, and shape our understanding of the world. However, if we become too attached to them, if we mistake the temporary support for the enduring core, we limit our own growth and freedom. The wisdom lies in recognizing when these structures have served their purpose, when they are no longer needed, and in cultivating the courage and equanimity to let them go, trusting in the inherent strength of the building that has been constructed within. This is a profound embodiment of letting go, a radical acceptance of change. The ancient Buddhist teachings on anicca, impermanence, resonate deeply with Marco's experience. Everything is subject to change, to arising and passing away. The scaffolding, though robust, is impermanent. To cling to it would be to resist the natural flow, or wu wei, of the construction process, and indeed, of life itself. By accepting its temporary nature, Marco was practicing a form of detachment, understanding that true peace, or nirvana, is not found in clinging to what is transient, but in recognizing the enduring, unchanging nature of the Dharma, the universal laws that govern existence. This understanding fostered a sense of inner freedom, a spaciousness that allowed him to appreciate the beauty of both the building process and its completion, free from the suffering of Trishna. As Marco and his team meticulously began to unbolt the connections, to lower the pipes and planks with practiced ease, a sense of quiet satisfaction permeated the worksite. Each piece of scaffolding, once a vital support, was carefully stacked, ready to be reused for another project. With each section removed, the building beneath emerged more clearly, its architectural lines sharper, its surfaces gleaming in the sunlight. It was a revelation, a gradual unveiling of the inherent beauty and structural integrity that had been slowly taking shape, protected and supported by the very framework that now receded. The building, in its completed form, stood as a testament to its own strength, self-sufficient and magnificent, a symbol of profound stillness. Marker reflected on how this process mirrored his own journey. There had been times in his life when he had relied heavily on external validation, on the opinions of others, or on specific circumstances to feel secure. These had been his personal scaffolding, essential for a time. But through experience and introspection, he had gradually learned to dismantle those external dependencies, to trust his own inner wisdom, his own core values, his own Buddha mind. He realized that the true building was his own sense of self, his inherent capacity for resilience and peace, a core that had been strengthened and refined through the very challenges he had faced, much like the process of self-knowledge and self-compassion. The act of letting go of the scaffolding, then, becomes a profound act of self-trust, an affirmation of our inherent strength and our original nature. It is a journey towards inner freedom, a recognition that the peace we seek is not found in external conditions or temporary supports, but in the unwavering core of our own being. This process cultivates a deep contentment, a spaciousness that allows us to move through life with greater equanimity, knowing that while external forms may change, our essential nature remains steadfast. It is a reminder that we already carry what we need, and that the incessant search for peace often ends when we simply allow our true self to be revealed, liberated from unnecessary dependencies. This powerful lesson in letting go of external supports, in trusting the enduring core that emerges, brings us to consider the intricate dance of precision and presence in another meticulous craft. Just as the scaffolding reveals the true building, a similar revelation of clarity and harmony can be found in the delicate work of a watchmaker. Let us now turn our attention to the steady hand and focused mind of the watchmaker, exploring how absolute concentration and the sacred pause between each tiny adjustment can lead to a profound stillness, allowing the intricate mechanics of time itself to unfold with perfect, quiet harmony. The watchmaker's steady hand, precision in the pause. In our continuous quest for peace, we often believe that by accelerating our pace, by doing more, by filling every moment with activity, we can somehow outrun our anxieties or force ourselves into a state of tranquility. We equate productivity with progress and stillness with idleness, leading to a constant internal pressure, a form of trishna that keeps us perpetually restless. Yet, what if true peace, a profound stillness, is not found in the frantic rush of continuous action, but in the deliberate, almost imperceptible pauses between actions, in the meticulous attention to detail that arises from absolute concentration, a sacred cessation of striving that allows for perfect alignment and a deep, visceral awareness of the present moment. In a small, quiet workshop, nestled above a bustling city street, where the distant urban hum was softened by thick velvet drapes, Elara, an apprentice watchmaker, bent over her workbench. The air was still, faintly smelling of fine oils and polished brass. Before her lay the intricate, gleaming mechanism of a vintage pocket watch, its tiny gears, springs and jewels spread across a velvet cloth, each component a testament to human ingenuity. Her master, an elderly woman named Anya, whose hands were steady as stone and whose eyes held the serene depth of decades of focused work, watched Elara with a patient, discerning gaze, Ilara, despite her keen intellect, often struggled with the precise, unhurried pace demanded by such delicate work. Ilara's natural inclination was to work quickly, to move from one tiny component to the next with efficiency, driven by a subtle craving to see the watch reassembled and ticking. She found the pauses between adjustments, the moments of seemingly unproductive stillness, to be almost agonizing. Her mind would race ahead, anticipating the next step, planning the sequence, rather than fully immersing itself in the minute detail of the present action. This internal rush, this constant striving for the next moment, created a subtle tension in her hands, a slight tremor that, though imperceptible to the untrained eye, was enough to disrupt the delicate balance required for microscopic adjustments, causing her to feel a persistent, low-level suffering rooted in impatience. Anya, observing Ilara's subtle tension, gently placed a hand on her apprentice's arm. "Ilara," she murmured, her voice soft as the whisper of a tiny gear. "The watch does not rush. Its harmony comes from the precision of each moment, not the speed of its assembly. Look closer." She then demonstrated, picking up a minuscule ruby jewel with a pair of fine tweezers. She didn't immediately place it. Instead, she held it for a long, deliberate moment, her breath barely stirring the air, her eyes unblinking, her entire being focused on the relationship between the jewel and its setting. This was not hesitation. It was a sacred pause, a moment of profound stillness before the action, allowing for complete concentration and intentionality. This practice of the sacred pause, the deliberate cessation of action before engaging with the next task, is a powerful lesson in cultivating full presence and equanimity. Ilara's initial rush, her craving for the outcome, prevented her from fully embodying the present moment. In Buddhist terms, this is about cultivating sati, mindfulness, and anapanasati, conscious breathing, to bring observing awareness to each micro-action. The pause is not empty. It is a space of profound stillness, a moment for the mind to settle, to align, to find its center before extending into the next movement. It is in these tiny gaps between actions that true wisdom, or prajna, can emerge, allowing for a seamless integration of intention and execution, free from the suffering of uncontrolled mental chatter. Anya then guided Ilara to try. "Feel the weight of the jewel," she instructed. "Observe its facets. Sense the precise cavity where it belongs, and then, only then, when your hand and your mind are utterly still, allow it to settle." Ilara, taking the tweezers, tried to emulate her master's deliberate rhythm. She felt her breath deepen, her heart rate slow. The workshop, once a place of subtle internal urgency, now felt like a vast, spacious chamber. She held the tiny ruby, observing its glint, feeling the delicate pressure of the tweezers. The world outside seemed to recede, her focus narrowing to the infinitesimal space between the jewel and its setting, a deep, visceral awareness of the task at hand. In that extended moment of stillness before placing the jewel, Ilara felt a profound quietude settle over her. It was not a forced calm, but an organic emergence of inner peace, a natural flow. Her hand, usually prone to a slight tremor, became remarkably steady. Her mind, previously cluttered with anticipatory thoughts, became clear and sharp, a beginner's mind, or shoshin, open to the subtle nuances of the task. When she finally lowered the jewel, it settled into its setting with an almost audible click, a perfect fit, a testament to the precision born of presence, a radical acceptance of the moment's demands. It was a small action, but it carried the weight of a monumental shift in her approach to her craft. and to her own inner world. Over the following weeks, Alara diligently practiced the sacred pause. She applied it not just to placing jewels, but to winding springs, adjusting levers, and polishing casings. She discovered that by honoring these moments of stillness, her overall speed did not decrease. In fact, her efficiency improved as fewer errors were made, and the quality of her work became exceptionally precise. The watches she assembled, once a source of subtle frustration, now felt like harmonious miniature universes, each component perfectly aligned, each movement fluid and silent, embodying the Buddha mind. This meticulous attention cultivated a deep contentment, a profound stillness that radiated from within, a direct result of her concentration or samadhi. Alara's journey with the watchmaker's pause reveals that the incessant search for peace is often a misdirection. Peace is not found by constantly moving forward, but by cultivating an intentional pause, a deliberate cessation of striving that allows us to fully inhabit the present moment. It is in these moments of focused concentration, of radical acceptance of what is, that we discover our inner freedom and the profound stillness that lies beneath the surface of our busy minds. This practice fosters self-knowledge and self-compassion, helping us to release the craving for speed and embrace the wisdom of a steady, mindful pace, recognizing that every small, precise act, when performed with full presence, contributes to the overall harmony of our lives. As Alara completed another watch, its delicate ticking a soft rhythmic pulse in the quiet workshop, she understood that peace was not a distant goal, but a quality woven into the very fabric of meticulous attention. This lesson in precision and the power of the sacred pause now guides us to consider forces of a much grander scale, yet equally demanding of our acceptance and measured response. Let us now turn our attention to the immense, controlled power of a hydraulic press, exploring how yielding to unseen forces rather than rigid resistance can shape and transform, much like the profound stillness that emerges from allowing life's pressures to guide us with wisdom and grace. The hydraulic press, yielding to unseen forces. In our incessant search for peace, we often mistakenly believe that strength lies in rigid resistance, in forcefully pushing back against life's pressures, in maintaining an unyielding stance against discomfort or change. We are taught to be firm, to stand our ground, to fight against adversity, fostering a mindset that views yielding as weakness and adaptability as surrender. This ingrained habit of resistance, however, can create immense internal friction, a persistent craving for things to be different, leading to a profound suffering when life inevitably exerts its powerful, unseen forces. But what if true, enduring peace, a deep inner freedom, emerges not from rigid opposition, but from a wise, compassionate understanding of when and how to yield, allowing ourselves to be shaped and transformed by the very pressures we encounter, much like the slow, immense power of a hydraulic press shaping resilient metal. In a cavernous industrial workshop, where the air vibrated with the low thrum of heavy machinery and the faint scent of hydraulic fluid, Raj, a seasoned metal fabricator, stood before a colossal hydraulic press. This immense machine, a silent leviathan of steel and power, was capable of exerting thousands of tons of pressure, shaping thick sheets of metal as if they were clay. Today, Raj was forming a complex curved panel for a specialized vehicle, a task that required not brute force, but a nuanced understanding of the metal's properties and the press's controlled power. The raw steel, dense and unyielding in its original state, seemed to defy any attempt at manipulation, reflecting the stubborn resistance we often bring to life's challenges. Raj's early career had been marked by a tendency to fight the metal, to try and force it into shape with aggressive settings and rapid cycles. He had believed that the fastest, most direct path to the desired form was through overwhelming force, a craving for immediate results, a form of trishna that led to frequent warping, cracking, and a persistent feeling of frustration. This aggressive approach, this constant striving against the material, created a profound suffering, a sense of battling an inanimate object, mirroring his own internal struggles with rigidity and a reluctance to accept the inherent limitations and nuances of his materials, both in the workshop and in his personal life. However, an old master, whose hands were as wise as his words, had taught Raj a different way. He had shown him that the hydraulic press, despite its immense power, worked best not through sudden impact, but through steady, consistent, and precisely controlled pressure. The metal, he explained, had to be coaxed, given time to flow and rearrange its molecular structure under the immense, yet gradual force. This required a profound stillness, a patient observation of the material's response, a full presence that allowed the metal to communicate its limits and its potential. Raj learned to adjust the pressure incrementally, to feel the subtle resistance, to allow the material itself to guide the shaping process, cultivating a deep, visceral awareness of its transformation. This lesson in yielding, rather than rigid resistance, offers a profound insight into our incessant search for peace. When we encounter life's pressures, whether they are difficult emotions, challenging circumstances, or the demands of relationships, our initial impulse is often to resist, to push back, to wish them away. This resistance, however, often intensifies the pressure, creating a secondary layer of suffering. The hydraulic press teaches us that true strength and transformation lie not in unyielding opposition, but in a wise, discerning form of yielding, a radical acceptance of the forces at play. This allows us to work with, rather than against, the current of experience, leading to a more profound stillness and inner freedom, a genuine embodiment of equanimity. The Buddhist principle of nirodha, the cessation of suffering, is beautifully illustrated here. Suffering arises from craving, or trishna, and attachment. Raj's initial suffering stemmed from his craving for the metal to conform instantly to his will, his attachment to a rigid outcome. By learning to yield, to allow the process to unfold with patience and observation, he moved towards nirodha. This was not a passive surrender, but an active, mindful engagement with reality, a practice of non-striving, allowing the natural flow, or wu-wei, of transformation to occur. It was a path, or magga, towards a deeper understanding of the Dharma, the universal laws of cause and effect, and a profound sense of inner peace. Raj began to adjust the press with a new sense of groundedness. He would initiate the pressure slowly, feeling the dense metal begin to deform, listening for the subtle groans and creaks that indicated its stress points. He would then pause, allowing the metal to rest and redistribute its internal forces, before applying more pressure. This rhythm of pressure and release, of yielding and shaping, was a dance of immense power and profound stillness. The metal, once seemingly intractable, began to flow, to curve, to take on the precise, complex form he desired, its final shape a testament to the wisdom of patient, controlled force, rather than aggressive impact. He noticed a parallel in his own internal landscape. When he faced a difficult decision or a challenging emotion, his old habit was to tense up, to try and force a solution or suppress the feeling. Now, he began to apply the lesson of the press, to acknowledge the pressure, to allow it to be there, to observe its contours without immediate reaction, and to gently, incrementally, allow himself to be shaped by the experience rather than fighting against it. This practice of conscious breathing and observing awareness brought a spaciousness to his mind, allowing insights to emerge naturally, transforming his internal state from one of rigid resistance to one of flexible strength and inner freedom. Through working with the hydraulic press, Raj discovered that true power, and consequently true peace, lies not in the ability to dominate or control, but in the wisdom of understanding and working with the inherent nature of things. The metal, when met with rigid force, would break, but when met with patient, consistent pressure and a discerning willingness to allow it to yield, it transformed into something strong, beautiful, and functional. This realization cultivated a deep contentment within him, a radical acceptance of life's shaping forces, and a profound stillness that stemmed from trusting the process of transformation rather than resisting it. It was a journey towards self-knowledge and an embodiment of the Buddha mind, recognizing the inherent wisdom in surrendering to the natural flow of existence. As Raj watched the perfectly formed metal panel emerge from the press, its curves smooth and precise, he carried with him the quiet understanding that strength and peace are often found in the art of yielding. This profound lesson in understanding and responding to unseen forces now guides us to consider another form of precision, one that focuses on clarity through the careful removal of excess. Let us now turn our attention to the glazier's edge, exploring how a precise, clean cut, by defining boundaries and releasing what no longer serves, can reveal essential truth and bring a profound stillness, much like the perfect clarity of a shaped pane of glass. The glazier's edge, clarity in the cut. In our incessant search for peace, we often accumulate rather than release. We gather possessions, opinions, commitments, and even anxieties, believing that by adding more, by striving for completeness through accumulation, we will somehow find contentment. This habit of holding on, this craving for an overflowing existence, can lead to a cluttered mind and a heavy heart, obscuring the very clarity and spaciousness we yearn for. We become attached to the excess, fearing that letting go might diminish us, rather than reveal our true essence. But what if profound stillness, a deep inner freedom, emerges not from adding, but from the precise intentional act of removal, from creating clear boundaries, and from releasing what no longer serves, much like the glazier's careful cut that reveals the perfect clarity and function of a pane of glass. In a sun-drenched workshop, where the air shimmered with microscopic glass dust and the faint, sweet scent of putty, Sophia, a master glazier, meticulously worked at her cutting table. Before her lay a large sheet of raw glass, its surface gleaming with potential, yet still formless and undefined. She was tasked with cutting a specific panel for a complex stained glass window, a piece that required not only beauty, but also absolute precision in its dimensions and angles. The rhythmic, almost musical score of a fine diamond wheel scoring glass provided a delicate soundtrack to her focused work. The raw glass, in its vast, undifferentiated state, represented the overwhelming potential and undifferentiated experience that often characterizes our busy minds, lacking the clarity of definition. Sophia's early days as an apprentice had been marked by a reluctance to make the decisive cut. She had often hesitated, fearing that a single wrong move would shatter the entire sheet or leave an imperfect edge. This fear, this craving for flawlessness without the necessary action, created a subtle form of trishna, a desire for an outcome without embracing the inherent risk and precision of the process. She would spend long moments contemplating, her hand hovering, her mind filled with doubt, leading to a persistent, low-level suffering rooted in indecision. This reluctance to commit, to define, to remove the excess mirrored her own internal struggle with setting clear boundaries in her life, often feeling overwhelmed by an inability to say no or to let go of unnecessary obligations. However, her master, a quiet woman with hands that moved with an almost surgical grace, had taught Sophia that the secret to working with glass was not in avoiding the cut, but in mastering it. "The glass does not fear the cut, Sophia," her master had said, her voice soft yet firm. "It longs for its true shape. Your role is to reveal it." This simple wisdom taught Sophia that the cut was not an act of destruction, but an act of creation, a precise definition that brought clarity and purpose to the formless. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering concentration, or samadhi, in the moment of action. She learned that true beauty emerged from discernment, from the ethical practice of defining what was essential and releasing what was not, a deep embodiment of non-striving. This act of the glazier's cut, of creating clear boundaries through intentional removal, offers a profound insight into our incessant search for peace. When our minds are cluttered with extraneous thoughts, when our lives are weighed down by unnecessary commitments, or when our emotions are tangled by undefined limits, we lose clarity. The glazier's edge teaches us that true inner freedom, a spaciousness of mind, often comes from the courageous act of defining, of saying, "This is what belongs, and this does not." It is a practice of letting go, of non-attachment to the excess, allowing the essential truth to emerge, unburdened by what is superfluous. This radical acceptance of our boundaries is a path, or magga, towards a profound stillness and a deep sense of contentment. The Buddhist principle of anatta, or no self, can be understood in the context of the glass. The raw sheet of glass, in its undifferentiated form, has no inherent fixed identity until it is shaped. Similarly, our self is not a solid, unchanging entity, but a collection of experiences, thoughts, and feelings. By making the precise cut, Sophia was not destroying the glass, but revealing its potential, giving it a clear function. This act of clarifying boundaries, of discerning what serves our true nature and what does not, helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as nothingness, but as the absence of inherent, fixed boundaries, allowing us to define our inner territories with greater wisdom and self-compassion, leading to a deeper sense of groundedness. Sophia picked up her diamond-tipped cutter. She held it with a steady groundedness, her breath slow and even. She looked at the pattern, then at the raw glass, visualizing the precise line, the exact trajectory of the cut. Her entire being focused on that single point of contact, the subtle friction of the diamond against the silicon, the faint, high-pitched whirring sound it made. There was no hesitation, no doubt, only absolute presence. With a smooth, deliberate motion, she scored the glass, a single, unwavering line that seemed to appear effortlessly, yet was the culmination of years of practice and deep concentration. Then came the moment of separation. She placed the scored glass precisely on the edge of the table, applied a firm, even pressure, and with a clean, sharp snap, the excess piece broke away, leaving behind a perfectly formed panel, its edges clean, its shape precise, its clarity absolute, The discarded piece, though still glass, no longer served the intended purpose. Its removal was essential for the beauty and function of the whole. A profound stillness settled over Sophia as she held the finished piece, its transparency now fully revealed, its boundaries perfectly defined, its purpose clear. It was a visceral awareness of how letting go creates space for true beauty and function. Through the glazier's edge, Sophia learned that true peace is often found not in accumulation, but in the art of discernment, in the courage to make precise cuts in our lives. It is about setting clear boundaries, releasing what no longer serves our highest good, and honoring the essential shape of our own being. This practice cultivates inner freedom, a spaciousness in our minds where wisdom, or prajna, can flourish, unburdened by the clutter of the unnecessary. It is a journey towards self-knowledge, towards understanding our original nature, and an embodiment of ethical living, or sila, where our actions are aligned with clarity and truth, leading to a deep and lasting contentment. As Sophia held the perfectly cut piece of glass, its clarity a mirror to her own settled mind, she understood that peace was not about avoiding the difficult choices, but about making them with precision and presence. This powerful lesson in defining our inner territories and embracing clarity now guides us to consider the broader landscape of self-exploration. Let us now turn our attention to the mariner's chart, exploring how meticulously mapping the known and unknown depths of our inner world, relying on deep understanding and careful observation, can lead to a steady passage through life's currents, much like the groundedness found in navigating the vast, complex ocean of our own being. The mariner's chart, navigating the known depths. In our incessant search for peace, we often gaze outward, seeking tranquility in external circumstances, in the calm of a serene environment, or in the absence of perceived threats. We might feel adrift, tossed by the currents of life, lacking a clear sense of direction or purpose, and attribute this disquiet to the unpredictable nature of the world around us. This outward focus, this craving for external stability, can prevent us from recognizing the most powerful navigational tool we possess, our own inner wisdom. What if true, enduring peace, a profound stillness, emerges not from controlling the external currents, but from a meticulous exploration and mapping of our own internal landscape, from cultivating deep self-knowledge that allows us to navigate life's inevitable storms with groundedness and equanimity, much like a seasoned mariner charting the vast, complex ocean. In a small, weather-beaten cabin overlooking a turbulent grey sea, where the scent of salt and old parchment mingled in the air, old Kai, a retired sea captain, sat hunched over a large, ancient chart. His hands, gnarled by decades of gripping the helm, moved with a delicate precision, updating the intricate lines of depths, currents, and hidden reefs. Though his sailing days were long past, he found a quiet, profound stillness in this meticulous ritual. The distant roar of the waves crashing against the cliffs outside was a constant reminder of the ocean's immense power and unpredictability, a force that had once filled him with a restless craving for control, a subtle form of Trishna for a calm that was rarely granted. In his younger years, Kai had been a reckless captain, driven by a thirst for adventure and a desire to conquer the sea. He had often set sail with incomplete charts, relying on instinct and brute force to navigate treacherous waters. This impetuous approach, this constant striving against the unknown, had led to numerous close calls, periods of intense anxiety, and a persistent feeling of being at the mercy of external forces. He had mistakenly believed that courage meant confronting the sea without preparation, leading to a profound suffering born of unpreparedness. He had sought peace in the thrill of overcoming external challenges rather than in the quiet, inner work of understanding and preparing for them, lacking a deep sense of self-knowledge. However, after a particularly harrowing storm that almost claimed his ship and crew, Kai had a profound realization. He understood that true mastery of the sea came not from battling it, but from understanding it, from knowing its every nuance, its every hidden danger, its every subtle current. He dedicated himself to the art of cartography, to the meticulous process of charting, of gathering knowledge, of understanding the vast, complex ocean not as an enemy, but as a living entity with its own predictable and unpredictable rhythms. This shift in perspective marked the beginning of his journey towards a deeper inner peace, a groundedness that came from profound stillness and a radical acceptance of the sea's inherent nature, an embodiment of non-striving. This act of charting, of meticulously mapping the known and unknown, offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as the mariner must understand the ocean's depths and currents, we too must embark on a journey of self-knowledge, exploring the vast, often turbulent, ocean of our own inner world. This involves cultivating and observing awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and patterns of behavior, recognizing their subtle currents and hidden reefs. It is a practice of full presence, of conscious breathing, allowing us to see our internal landscape with clarity and precision, free from the craving to control or alter every arising sensation. This self-exploration is a path, or magga, towards true inner freedom. The Buddhist concept of vipassana, or equanimous observation, aligns perfectly with Kai's approach to charting. Vipassana teaches us to observe our internal experiences without judgment, allowing them to arise and pass away, recognizing their impermanence, or anicca. Just as Kai noted every detail of the sea, without emotional reaction, we are invited to observe our inner states with the same detachment, understanding that clinging to pleasant experiences or pushing away unpleasant ones only creates suffering. This practice cultivates equanimity, a profound stillness that allows us to navigate the turbulent waters of our emotions with wisdom, or prajna, recognizing that our true nature, our Buddha mind, remains untouched by the passing storms. Kai, with his compass and dividers, would meticulously add new soundings, correct old anomalies, and mark newly discovered currents. Each line drawn, each symbol placed, was an act of profound concentration, a meditation in itself. He didn't just copy, he integrated new information, constantly refining his understanding, allowing his charts to evolve with his knowledge. The scent of ink and paper filled his senses, grounding him in the present moment. He found a deep contentment in this work, a spaciousness in his mind that came from the clarity and order he brought to the chaotic vastness of the sea. This was not about controlling the ocean, but about understanding it so intimately that he could navigate it with grace and confidence, a seamless integration of his skill with the sea's reality. Through this meticulous charting, Kai realized that the peace he had once desperately sought on calm seas was actually found in the depth of his preparation, in the richness of his self-knowledge. He understood that the external world, like the ocean, would always present challenges, but with a well-charted inner landscape, he could meet them with groundedness and resilience. His charts were not just maps of the sea, they were maps of his own wisdom, a testament to his journey of self-discovery and self-compassion. They represented an embodiment of the Dharma, the universal laws he had come to understand through direct experience, leading to a profound stillness that transcended the changing weather. Kai's journey from a reckless youth to a wise mariner, meticulously charting his world, offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by avoiding life's challenges, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by charting our own internal landscape with honesty and precision. This practice of observing awareness, of understanding our own currents and depths, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within, a constant process of learning and adapting, an ongoing refinement of our inner compass, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment. As Kai carefully rolled up his chart, the quiet rustle of parchment echoing in the cabin, he felt the groundedness that comes from a life lived with purpose and deep understanding. This lesson in navigating our inner depths now leads us to consider the even more ancient and enduring forms of stability that lie beneath our feet. Let us now turn our attention to the geologist's core, exploring how unearthing ancient steadiness, revealing millions of years of stable formation beneath shifting surface layers, can bring a profound sense of groundedness and equanimity, a recognition of the unchanging core that underpins all transient experience. The geologist's core, unearthing ancient steadiness. In our incessant search for peace, we often find ourselves buffeted by the shifting sands of external circumstances, by the transient nature of our emotions, and by the constant flux of our thoughts. We seek stability in fleeting forms, clinging to what is impermanent, and when these external foundations inevitably shift or crumble, we experience a profound sense of unease, a craving for a solid, unchanging ground that seems perpetually out of reach. This attachment to the temporary, this trishna for external fixedness, can lead to a deep suffering, a feeling of being perpetually unanchored. But what if true, enduring peace, a profound stillness, is not found in controlling the surface, but in recognizing and connecting with the ancient, unwavering steadiness that lies beneath all superficial change, an inherent stability that has persisted for eons, much like the deep, stable bedrock revealed by a geologist's core sample. In a remote, windswept research station perched on a high plateau, where the air was crisp with the scent of pine and ancient stone, Dr. Anya Sharma, a dedicated geologist, meticulously examined a long, cylindrical core sample. The core, extracted from thousands of feet beneath the Earth's surface, was a silent chronicle of geological time, a testament to immense pressures and slow, deliberate transformations. The air in her small laboratory hummed with the quiet whir of scientific equipment, a stark contrast to the dynamic, ever-changing weather outside. The surface of the plateau, exposed to the elements, showed clear signs of erosion and constant alteration, a mirror to the superficial changes that often distract us from deeper truths. Dr. Sharma's early career had been marked by a fascination with cataclysmic events, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and the dramatic forces that visibly reshaped the Earth. She had pursued these phenomena with an almost restless energy, a craving for the excitement of immediate observable change. This focus on the superficial dynamism, while intellectually stimulating, had inadvertently created a subtle form of trishna, a desire for constant external stimulation, leading to a persistent low-level suffering whenever her research hit a quiet, uneventful phase. She had sought profound insights in the dramatic, overlooking the subtle, yet far more enduring wisdom embedded in the deep, quiet processes that sustained the planet. However, a mentor, an elderly professor whose wisdom was as deep as the earth itself, had once told her, "Anya, the earth's greatest lessons are often whispered, not shouted. Listen to the silence beneath the storm." This advice had gradually shifted Dr. Sharma's focus from the dramatic surface to the profound stillness of the deep earth. She began to appreciate the immense enduring stability of the planet's core, the ancient unchanging bedrock that served as the silent foundation for all life. This shift in perspective, this non-attachment to the superficial, allowed her to approach her core samples with a profound stillness, a sense of groundedness, recognizing the inherent wisdom in the unchanging. This act of unearthing and examining the geological core offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as the Earth's surface is constantly shifting, our thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances are in perpetual flux, embodying anicca, impermanence. We often become overly identified with these surface phenomena, mistaking them for our fundamental reality. The geological core, however, reminds us that beneath these ever-changing layers lies a deep, stable, and enduring foundation, our own original nature, our Buddha mind, which remains untouched by the transient storms of life. Connecting with this inner core cultivates a profound stillness and inner freedom. The Buddhist concept of sunyata, emptiness, can be profoundly understood through Dr. Sharma's work. Sunyata does not mean nothingness, but rather the absence of inherent, fixed existence in phenomena. The surface of the earth, though seemingly solid, is constantly being reshaped. The true emptiness lies in recognizing that these forms are not ultimately fixed. The bedrock, while appearing stable, is also a product of immense geological processes, a temporary manifestation of a deeper cosmic flow. By observing the core, Dr. Sharma cultivated an observing awareness that allowed her to see through the illusion of fixed forms, fostering a deep sense of equanimity and a radical acceptance of the interconnectedness of all things, free from the suffering of Trishna. Dr. Sharma carefully unwrapped a section of the core, revealing bands of ancient granite, layers of compressed sandstone, and veins of crystalline quartz. She ran her fingers over the cold, dense rock, feeling its incredible solidity, its immense resistance mechanical, its sheer age. Each layer told a story of millions of years of patient formation, of slow, deliberate accumulation, of unwavering presence. There was no urgency in these ancient stones, no craving for a different state, only a profound stillness, a quiet testimony to enduring existence. She found a deep contentment in this connection to the earth's ancient heart, a spaciousness in her mind that came from recognizing a stability far greater than her own transient concerns. She noticed how the deeper she went into the core, the more uniform and stable the rock formations became, less affected by the superficial erosions and upheavals. It was a tangible lesson in groundedness, a visceral awareness of a profound stillness that existed beneath all the noise and chaos of the surface world. This connection to the Earth's deep history brought her a sense of perspective, a realization that her own temporary anxieties and shifting emotions were merely surface phenomena, while her true essence, her inner core, remained as solid and enduring as the ancient bedrock itself, a source of unwavering peace. Through examining the geologist's core, Dr. Sharma discovered that the incessant search for peace often ends when we cease to cling to the superficial and instead delve into the deep, enduring core of our own being. This practice of connecting with our original nature, our inherent stability, allows us to cultivate a profound stillness and inner freedom that is not dependent on external circumstances. It is a journey towards self-knowledge and self-compassion, an embodiment of the Dharma, recognizing that while the surface of life may always be in flux, there is an ancient, unwavering peace within us, a source of true contentment and sufficiency that remains constant, a profound stillness that is always available. As Dr. Sharma carefully catalogued the core sample, the quiet hum of the laboratory underscored the deep peace she had found in connecting with the Earth's ancient heart. This profound understanding of enduring stability beneath shifting layers now leads us to consider another form of definition and clarity. Let us now turn our attention to the cartographer's line, exploring how precisely defining our inner territories, creating clear boundaries and paths, can lead to a profound sense of inner freedom and order, much like the clear, intentional lines that bring structure and understanding to a vast, uncharted landscape. The cartographer's line, defining inner territories. In our incessant search for peace, we often find ourselves overwhelmed by the vast, undefined expanse of our internal world, feeling lost amidst a multitude of thoughts, emotions, and external demands. We crave clarity, a sense of order, but without clear boundaries, our energy can dissipate, our focus can fragment, and our intentions can become muddled, leading to a persistent feeling of being scattered and ungrounded. This lack of definition, this avoidance of setting limits, can create a subtle suffering, a trishna for a peace that remains elusive because we haven't first clarified our own inner landscape. What if true, enduring peace, a profound stillness, emerges not from boundless openness, but from the deliberate, precise act of defining our inner territories, from drawing clear, intentional lines that bring order and purpose to our being, much like a cartographer meticulously mapping a complex, untamed land. In a quiet, sunlit studio filled with the earthy scent of paper and the faint metallic tang of drafting tools, Elias, a renowned cartographer, bent over a large, unrolled sheet of vellum. He was charting a vast remote forest, a wild expanse that had previously existed only in fragmented explorers' notes and vague aerial surveys. The air was still, save for the soft scratch of his pen and the occasional rustle of the vellum. His task was to transform this wilderness into an ordered, comprehensible map, to give form and definition to the formless, to articulate the hidden structures of the landscape. The sheer scale of the uncharted territory, in its raw, undifferentiated state, mirrored the overwhelming feeling we often experience when confronting the vastness of our own unexamined minds. Elias, in his younger days, had approached cartography with a romanticized ideal of boundless freedom, a craving for maps that depicted endless, undefined spaces, believing that true peace lay in the absence of limits. He had resisted the disciplined act of drawing precise lines, viewing boundaries as restrictive, as a form of confinement. This aversion to definition, this trishna for an infinite, formless expanse, had ironically led to a persistent sense of being lost, both in his work and in his personal life. His maps, though beautiful, often lacked practical utility, and his mind, without clear parameters, frequently felt scattered and overwhelmed, creating a subtle suffering born of lack of structure. He had sought peace in the absence of boundaries, only to find disarray. However, an old, wise cartographer, whose maps were renowned for their clarity and elegance, had taught Elias a profound lesson. A line, the master had said, is not a prison, but a path. It defines so that you may truly see what is within and what is without. This simple wisdom transformed Elias's understanding. He began to see that the act of drawing a boundary was not about limitation, but about clarification, about creating a container within which true understanding and inner freedom could flourish. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering intentionality to ensure each line served its purpose. He learned that the ethical practice, or sila, of defining territories was essential for both practical navigation and a deeper, more profound sense of peace. This act of drawing precise lines, of defining inner territories, offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as a map brings order to a wilderness, setting clear boundaries in our minds and lives brings a sense of groundedness and purpose. This involves cultivating and observing awareness of our internal landscape, identifying what truly belongs to us, what our responsibilities are, and where our energy should be directed. It is a practice of non-striving, allowing us to recognize our limits with compassion or karuna, and to honor them, rather than constantly pushing beyond them out of a craving for more. This clarity of definition is a path, or magga, towards true inner freedom and a profound stillness. The Buddhist concept of anatta, or no self, can be understood in the context of the map. The lines on the map do not inherently exist. They are constructs that we impose to bring order and understanding to a landscape. Similarly, our self is not a fixed, independent entity, but a collection of experiences, thoughts, and feelings. By drawing clear boundaries, we are not creating a rigid, permanent self, but rather skillfully defining our current functioning, our present capacity. This practice helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as nothingness, but as the absence of inherent, fixed boundaries, allowing us to create and recreate our inner territories with greater wisdom, or prajna, and flexibility, fostering a deep sense of equanimity. Elias picked up his finest drafting pen, its tip a needle-thin point of precision. He began to trace the contours of a mountain range, a natural boundary in the forest, then the winding course of a river, a pathway through its heart. Each line was an act of profound concentration, a meditation in itself. He felt the subtle friction of the ink flowing onto the vellum, the texture of the paper beneath his hand. The studio, once a place of subtle internal urgency, now felt like a vast, spacious chamber, his mind utterly absorbed in the intricate dance of definition. He found a deep contentment in this work, a spaciousness that came from the clarity and order he was bringing to the previously formless expanse, a true embodiment of the Buddha mind. Through this meticulous charting, Elias realized that the peace he had once desperately sought in boundless freedom was actually found in the disciplined act of defining. He understood that by clearly delineating his inner territories, his values, his priorities, his personal limits, he created a framework within which his energy could flow purposefully, rather than dissipating in all directions. His maps were not just representations of the external world. They were reflections of his own self-knowledge, a testament to his journey of self-compassion and ethical living. They represented an embodiment of the Dharma, the universal laws he had come to understand through direct experience, leading to a profound stillness that transcended the chaos of the undefined. Elias's journey from resisting boundaries to embracing the cartographer's line offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by abandoning all structure, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by precisely defining our own inner territories with honesty and intentionality. This practice of observing awareness, of understanding our own limits and capacities, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within. A constant process of learning and adapting, an ongoing refinement of our inner compass, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment. As Elias carefully inked the final legend on his map, the quiet scratch of his pen underscored the deep peace he had found in bringing order to the wild. This profound understanding of defining our inner territories now leads us to consider another form of connection, one that focuses on binding disparate elements into a cohesive, supportive whole. Let us now turn our attention to the mason's mortar, exploring how this humble yet essential material binds individual, irregular stones into a strong, resilient wall, offering a powerful metaphor for the compassion and integration that can bring profound stillness and seamless integration to the fragmented parts of ourselves and the world. The mason's mortar, binding fragments to wholeness. In our incessant search for peace, we often perceive ourselves as fragmented beings, a collection of separate thoughts, emotions, and experiences, often in conflict with one another. We struggle with a sense of isolation, believing that true tranquility requires us to smooth over our rough edges, to become perfectly uniform, or to somehow transcend our individual differences. This craving for an idealized, homogeneous state, this trishna for perfect unity without first acknowledging our inherent diversity, can lead to a profound suffering, a persistent feeling of being incomplete or disconnected. But what if true, enduring peace, a profound stillness, emerges not from erasing our differences, but from a compassionate, skillful integration of all our parts, from recognizing the humble yet powerful bonds that can unite disparate elements into a cohesive, resilient whole, much like the mason's mortar binding irregular stones into a strong, beautiful wall. In a sun-drenched courtyard, where the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and crushed limestone, Hiroshi, a master stonemason, worked with a quiet, meditative intensity. Before him lay a pile of rough-hewn stones, each one unique in shape, size, and texture, a testament to the earth's raw, unyielding beauty. His task was to construct a garden wall, a structure that would not only be strong and functional, but also aesthetically pleasing, a seamless integration of diverse elements. The rhythmic scrape of his trowel against the mortar bucket provided a steady, grounding sound. The individual stones, in their varied forms, mirrored the diverse, often conflicting, aspects of our own inner lives, each asserting its own presence, demanding its own space. Hiroshi, in his younger days, had often struggled with the imperfections of the stones. He had a craving for uniformity, a desire to find perfectly matched pieces that would fit together effortlessly, believing that true beauty lay in pristine order. This pursuit of an idealized perfection, this trishna for a seamless fit without effort, had led to endless frustration, a persistent, low-level suffering as he tried to force irregular stones into unnatural alignments. He had mistakenly believed that the strength of the wall came solely from the individual stones, overlooking the humble yet vital role of the mortar, the binding agent that truly created cohesion, lacking a deep sense of compassion for the inherent differences in the materials. However, an old, wise mason, whose walls stood for centuries, had taught Hiroshi a profound lesson. The mortar, the master had said, his voice as rough yet solid as the stones themselves, is the compassion of the wall. It embraces every difference, fills every gap, and makes them one. This simple wisdom transformed Hiroshi's understanding. He began to see that the strength and beauty of the wall came not from the uniformity of the stones, but from the skillful, compassionate way they were joined, from the mortar's ability to adapt to every curve and crevice, to bind the disparate into a cohesive whole. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering intentionality to ensure each stone found its rightful place, held firm by the embracing bond. This act of binding fragments with mortar, of integrating disparate elements into a cohesive whole, offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as the mortar unites irregular stones, compassion, or metta and karuna, allows us to integrate the varied, often conflicting parts of ourselves, our strengths and weaknesses, our joys and sorrows, our past experiences, and future aspirations. It is a practice of non-striving, allowing us to recognize and embrace our inherent diversity with equanimity, understanding that true wholeness does not require us to become perfectly uniform, but rather to skillfully connect and support all aspects of our being. This seamless integration is a path, or magga, towards true inner freedom and a profound stillness. The Buddhist concept of Dharma, the universal truth or law, is beautifully illustrated by the mortar. The Dharma is the underlying principle that binds all phenomena, revealing their interconnectedness. Just as the mortar respects the individual nature of each stone while creating a greater whole, the Dharma teaches us to recognize the unique qualities of each being while understanding our fundamental unity. This practice helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as nothingness, but as the absence of inherent, fixed separation, revealing the profound interconnectedness of all things. By cultivating compassion, we become like the mortar, creating bonds of understanding and acceptance, fostering a deep sense of groundedness and a radical acceptance of the world as it is. Hiroshi picked up his trowel, its blade smooth and worn from years of use. He began to mix the mortar, feeling its density, its subtle viscosity, its earthy scent. He then carefully applied it to the base course, a thick, even layer, ready to receive the next stone. He selected an irregularly shaped piece of granite, feeling its rough texture, observing its unique contours. With gentle, precise movements, he settled it into the mortar, ensuring every gap was filled, every surface was cradled by the binding agent. The air in the courtyard, once filled with his internal struggle, now resonated with the quiet rhythm of creation, his mind utterly absorbed in the intricate dance of connection. He found a deep contentment in this work, a spaciousness that came from the clarity and order he was bringing to the previously fragmented pile, a true embodiment of the Buddha mind. Through this meticulous masonry, Hiroshi realized that the peace he had once desperately sought in perfect uniformity was actually found in the compassionate act of integration. He understood that by embracing the unique qualities of each stone, and by skillfully binding them with mortar, he created a wall that was not only strong, but also beautiful in its diversity. This mirrored his own inner journey. By accepting all aspects of himself, his flaws, his strengths, his past, his present, and by connecting them with self-compassion, he created an inner structure that was resilient, harmonious, and truly whole. His wall was not just a physical barrier, it was a testament to the power of unity in diversity, a reflection of his own self-knowledge and self-compassion. Hiroshi's journey from resisting imperfections to embracing the mason's mortar offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by striving for an idealized uniformity, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by compassionately integrating all the diverse and sometimes conflicting parts of ourselves. This practice of observing awareness, of understanding our own internal landscape with metta and karuna, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within, a constant process of learning to bind our fragments into a cohesive whole, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment. As Hiroshi stepped back from the newly completed section of the wall, its diverse stones held firm by the humble mortar, he felt the groundedness that comes from true integration. This profound understanding of binding fragments into wholeness now leads us to consider another form of internal coherence, one that focuses on discovering deep stillness by removing all external noise. Let us now turn our attention to the acoustician's chamber, exploring how an environment designed for absolute silence can reveal the subtle inner landscape of our own being, bringing a profound stillness that emerges from listening to the echoes of our own quiet essence. The acoustician's chamber, echoes of silence. In our incessant search for peace, we often seek it by trying to quiet the external world, to escape to tranquil environments, or to eliminate sources of noise and distraction. We believe that true serenity resides in an outer calm, and that if only the world would stop its ceaseless clamor, our minds would naturally follow suit. This craving for external quietude, this trishna for a silent environment, can lead to a persistent feeling of frustration and a subtle suffering when the world inevitably intrudes. But what if profound stillness, a deep inner freedom, is not merely the absence of external sound, but a quality that emerges when we remove all outer interference, allowing us to finally hear the subtle internal landscape of our own being, much like an anechoic chamber reveals the hidden sounds of the self. In the heart of a bustling university campus, where the air thrummed with the distant drone of lectures and the incessant chatter of students, stood a building housing one of the quietest places on earth, an anechoic chamber. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a brilliant acoustician, had spent her career studying the physics of sound, but she had recently begun to explore the profound impact of its absence. The chamber, a room meticulously designed to absorb all echoes and external noise, was a sanctuary of absolute silence, its walls lined with massive wedge-shaped foam absorbers that created a strange, almost disorienting sense of auditory emptiness. The constant barrage of external stimuli, a source of subtle agitation for many, had long contributed to her own relentless search for peace. Dr. Reed, despite her scientific understanding of sound, had always felt a subtle craving for quiet, a trishna for moments of respite from the auditory overload of her life. She would often retreat to her office, closing the door, hoping to find a measure of peace in the relative stillness. However, even in the quietest moments, her mind would continue its ceaseless chatter, its internal monologue a persistent hum that defied her attempts at external suppression. She realized that merely removing external noise was not enough. The source of her internal disquiet was deeper, a form of suffering rooted in her inability to quiet her own mind, even when the world around her was still. She had sought peace in the absence of sound, only to find the clamor of her own thoughts. One afternoon, seeking a deeper understanding of true silence, Dr. Reed decided to spend an extended period inside the anechoic chamber. As the heavy, soundproof door sealed behind her, an immediate, almost shocking quiet descended. The world outside vanished. At first, the silence was disorienting, even unnerving. Her ears, accustomed to a constant stream of auditory information, strained to find something, anything, to latch onto. She felt a subtle anxiety, a craving for some external sound to break the oppressive stillness, a visceral awareness of her attachment to auditory input. This initial discomfort was a powerful manifestation of her resistance to the raw, unfiltered experience of her own internal environment, a lack of equanimity. However, as minutes stretched into an hour and then into 2, something profound began to shift. With no external sounds to distract her, her attention was inexorably drawn inward. She began to hear the subtle, previously imperceptible sounds of her own body, the soft whoosh of blood flowing through her veins, the rhythmic thump of her heartbeat, the gentle creak of her joints as she shifted her weight, the subtle gurgle of her digestive system. These were the echoes of silence, the hidden symphony of her own physiological existence, constantly present, but usually drowned out by the external world. This was a profound stillness, an embodiment of full presence that arose from the complete absence of external sensory input. This experience inside the anechoic chamber offers a powerful metaphor for our incessant search for peace. We often believe that peace is found by silencing the world, but true, profound stillness emerges when we turn our attention inward, allowing ourselves to hear the subtle, internal landscape of our own being. The chamber, by removing external distractions, forces us into a confrontation with our own internal noise, our thoughts, our emotions, our bodily sensations. It is in this radical acceptance of what is, in this equanimous observation, or vipassana, of our inner sounds, that we begin to find a deeper, more enduring peace, a spaciousness of mind that is not dependent on external conditions, embodying the Buddha mind. The Buddhist concept of anatta, or no self, can be profoundly understood through this experience. In the absolute silence, the sense of a fixed, separate self begins to dissolve as one becomes acutely aware of the constant flowing processes of the body and mind. The self is revealed not as a solid entity, but as a collection of interdependent phenomena. This practice helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as nothingness, but as the absence of inherent fixed boundaries, revealing the profound interconnectedness of all internal processes. By cultivating conscious breathing, or anapanasati, and observing awareness, or sati, we connect with our original nature, a state of mushin, or no mind, where the internal chatter subsides, replaced by a profound stillness. Dr. Reed found herself entering a state of deep concentration, or samadhi. The initial discomfort dissipated, replaced by a quiet wonder at the complexity and continuous activity of her own internal system. She realized that her body was a microcosm of the universe, a constant dance of creation and dissolution, a testament to anicca, impermanence. The peace she felt was not the absence of all sound, but the acceptance of the internal sounds, the profound stillness that arose from listening without judgment, without craving for them to be different. It was a visceral awareness of her own living presence, a deep sense of groundedness that came from this intimate connection with herself, a true inner freedom. Through her time in the anechoic chamber, Dr. Reed discovered that the incessant search for peace often ends when we cease to chase external quiet and instead embrace the internal landscape of our own being. The chamber, by eliminating external noise, amplified the subtle wisdom of her own body and mind. This practice of cultivating observing awareness, of listening deeply to our internal echoes, allows us to find a profound stillness that is always available, regardless of external circumstances. It is a journey towards self-knowledge and self-compassion, an embodiment of the Dharma, recognizing that the peace we seek is not a distant goal, but a quality woven into the very fabric of our existence, a source of true contentment and sufficiency. As Dr. Reed finally emerged from the anechoic chamber, the sounds of the campus initially seemed almost deafening, but she now heard them with a new kind of clarity, a spaciousness that allowed them to exist without disturbing her inner calm. This profound understanding of finding stillness by turning inward, by listening to the subtle echoes of our being, now leads us to consider another form of internal transformation, one that requires patient work with our own inner elements. Let us now turn our attention to the alchemist's crucible, exploring how raw elements are subjected to sustained heat and pressure, transforming suffering into wisdom, much like the patient process of refining our internal landscape to achieve a refined, enduring inner peace. The alchemist's crucible, transforming internal elements. In our incessant search for peace, we often view our difficult emotions, our past traumas, or our persistent struggles as obstacles to be avoided, suppressed, or simply wished away. We crave immediate relief from discomfort, believing that true tranquility can only exist in the absence of any internal turmoil, leading to a relentless striving to escape what we perceive as negative. This avoidance, this trishna for an untroubled state, can paradoxically create a deeper suffering, preventing us from engaging with the very experiences that hold the potential for profound growth and transformation. But what if true, enduring peace, a deep inner freedom, emerges not from escaping our internal elements, but from patiently working with them, from subjecting them to a process of sustained attention and compassionate understanding, much like an alchemist transforms base elements into something refined and precious within the crucible. In a hidden stone-walled laboratory, where the air was thick with the scent of sulfur and strange metallic compounds, Lyra, an alchemist of quiet renown, tended her furnace. Before her sat a heavy iron crucible, its surface glowing with the intense, steady heat of the coals. Within it, a mixture of raw, seemingly inert elements simmered, undergoing a slow, deliberate transformation. Her task was not to force a magical change, but to patiently guide the process, to understand the inherent properties of the materials, and to create the precise conditions for their refinement. The raw, unrefined elements, in their chaotic, unformed state, mirrored the turmoil and confusion of our own unprocessed emotions, demanding our attention and careful engagement. Lyra, in her younger years, had been impatient, driven by a craving for instant transmutation, for the dramatic, immediate results promised by ancient texts. She had experimented wildly, throwing various substances together, hoping for a quick, magical solution to her own internal discontent, her own persistent feeling of lack. This restless striving, this trishna for a swift external fix, had led to frequent failures, explosions, and a profound suffering rooted in her impatience and her inability to trust the slow, deliberate process of true alchemy. She had sought peace in the immediate, miraculous transformation of matter, overlooking the deeper, more profound transformation that was required within herself. However, an old, cryptic alchemist, whose wisdom was as profound as his silence, had once told Lyra, "The crucible is not merely metal, it is the heart. The fire is not merely heat, It is presence. True gold is found within the patience of the process. This wisdom transformed Lyra's understanding. She began to see that alchemy was not about external manipulation, but about internal refinement, about creating the conditions for the elements to reveal their true nature. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering concentration to hold the vessel steady, to maintain the precise temperature, to observe the subtle shifts in color and texture. She learned that the ethical practice, or sila, of patient observation was essential for both external transformation and a deeper, more profound sense of peace. This act of subjecting raw elements to a patient, sustained transformation within the crucible offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as the alchemist works with base metals, we too must learn to engage with our difficult emotions, our anxieties, our fears, the raw elements of our internal world. Instead of avoiding or suppressing them, we are invited to hold them in the crucible of our conscious awareness, to subject them to the fire of our full presence and compassionate attention. This is a practice of non-striving, allowing us to recognize the impermanence, or anicca, of these states, and to trust that, given time and mindful engagement, they can be transformed into wisdom, or prajna, and inner freedom. This process of refinement is a path, or magga, towards true peace. The Buddhist concept of tonglen, a practice of taking in suffering and sending out compassion, can be profoundly understood through Lyra's work. Just as the alchemist takes in the raw, unrefined elements and works to transform them, Tonglen invites us to take in our own suffering and the suffering of others into the crucible of our heart, and through the fire of compassion, to transform it into wisdom and peace. This practice helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as nothingness, but as the absence of inherent, fixed suffering, revealing the profound potential for transformation within all experiences. By cultivating metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion, we become like the crucible, holding and transforming, fostering a deep sense of equanimity and a radical acceptance of all our internal elements. Lyra, with her bellows and tongs, would carefully adjust the heat, maintaining a steady, consistent temperature. She would then lean close to the crucible, observing the subtle changes within the bubbling mixture, the shifting colors, the rising vapors, the slow sedimentation of impurities. Her entire being was focused on this internal landscape, her breath slow and even, her mind utterly absorbed in the intricate dance of transformation. There was no urgency, no craving for a different state, only a profound stillness, a quiet testimony to enduring existence. She found a deep contentment in this work, a spaciousness that came from recognizing the inherent potential for refinement within all things, a true embodiment of the Buddha mind. Through this meticulous alchemy, Lyra realized that the peace she had once desperately sought in the absence of internal turmoil was actually found in the compassionate, patient engagement with it. She understood that her difficult emotions, when held in the crucible of her awareness and subjected to the fire of her presence, were not obstacles, but raw materials for growth. By allowing them to transform, rather than resisting or suppressing them, she refined her own inner landscape, achieving a state of profound stillness and inner freedom that was resilient and enduring. Her crucible was not just a laboratory tool, it was a metaphor for her own heart, a testament to her journey of self-knowledge and self-compassion, leading to a deeper sense of groundedness. Lyra's journey from seeking instant transmutation to embracing the alchemist's crucible offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by avoiding or denying our internal struggles, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by compassionately engaging with and transforming our raw emotional elements. This practice of observing awareness, of holding our suffering in the crucible of our presence with metta and karuna, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within, a constant process of refinement, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment, and an embodiment of our original nature. As Lyra carefully removed the now refined, gleaming substance from her crucible, its purity a mirror to her own settled mind, she understood that peace was not about avoiding the fire, but about mastering it. This profound understanding of transforming internal elements now leads us to consider another form of intentional removal, one that creates space for deeper, more vital growth. Let us now turn our attention to the arborist's pruning, exploring how the precise removal of what no longer serves, though seemingly a loss, directs vital energy to new life, creating a stronger, healthier form, much like the profound stillness that emerges from letting go to foster deeper, more enduring growth within ourselves. The arborist's pruning, releasing for deeper growth. In our incessant search for peace, we often cling to what is familiar, to old habits, outdated beliefs, or relationships that no longer serve our highest good. We fear loss, viewing any form of removal or letting go as a diminishment, a painful void that will leave us incomplete. This attachment to the past, this craving for continuity, this trishna for things to remain unchanged, can create a profound suffering, a persistent feeling of being weighed down, and a resistance to the natural cycles of growth and renewal. But what if true, enduring peace, a deep inner freedom, emerges not from holding on, but from the wise, compassionate act of releasing what no longer serves, from creating space for new life and vitality, much like an arborist's precise pruning, which, though seemingly a loss, directs vital energy to deeper, more robust growth. In a sprawling urban park, where the air hummed with the distant sounds of city life softened by the rustling of leaves, Ben, a seasoned arborist, stood beneath the ancient canopy of a magnificent oak tree. His hands, calloused and strong, held a pair of sharp pruning shears. The tree, a venerable sentinel of decades, was beautiful. Yet some of its lower branches were dead, others overgrown, creating a dense, tangled web that blocked sunlight from reaching the undergrowth and stifled its own upward reach. The scent of damp earth and living wood filled the air around him. The tree, in its struggle with excess, mirrored our own tendency to accumulate, to hold on to what no longer serves, creating a dense, internal clutter that impedes our peace. Ben, in his early years, had approached pruning with a certain reluctance, a craving for the tree to remain whole and untouched, fearing that any cut would diminish its grandeur. He had believed that growth simply meant adding more, extending further, and that removing anything was a form of damage or loss. This attachment to the visual fullness, this trishna for an unbroken form, had led to trees that were beautiful in their wildness, but often unhealthy, their vital energy dispersed inefficiently, creating a subtle suffering for the tree as its natural flow was impeded. He had sought peace in the absence of intervention, overlooking the profound wisdom in intentional release. However, An old, wise arborist, whose trees were renowned for their health and vitality, had taught Ben a profound lesson. "A tree," the master had said, his voice as grounded as the roots beneath their feet, "does not fear the cut, for it understands the wisdom of release. It knows that to grow truly, it must let go." This simple wisdom transformed Ben's understanding. He began to see that pruning was not an act of destruction, but an act of profound compassion, a precise intervention that directed the tree's vital energy towards its healthiest, most purposeful growth. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering concentration to identify what truly served the tree and what merely drained its resources. He learned that the ethical practice, or sila, of letting go was essential for both the tree's well-being and a deeper, more profound sense of peace. This act of the arborist's pruning, of intentionally releasing what no longer serves, offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as the tree sheds dead branches to channel energy to new growth, we too must learn to identify and release the dead wood in our lives. Outdated beliefs, unhelpful habits, unhealthy attachments, or even grievances from the past. This is a practice of non-striving, allowing us to recognize the impermanence, or anicca, of all things, and to trust that by letting go, we create spaciousness and energy for deeper, more vital growth within ourselves. This intentional release is a path, or magga, towards true inner freedom and a profound stillness, an embodiment of radical acceptance. The Buddhist concept of detachment, or non-attachment, is beautifully illustrated by the arborist's work. Detachment is not about indifference, but about wisdom, understanding that clinging to what is past or what no longer serves only creates suffering. Ben's initial suffering stemmed from his attachment to the tree's overgrown form. By learning to detach, to release the unnecessary, he allowed the tree to flourish. This practice helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as the absence of inherent, fixed attachment, revealing the profound potential for renewal and growth. By cultivating conscious breathing, or anapanasati, and observing awareness, or sati, we connect with our original nature, a state of mushin, or no mind, where the fear of loss subsides, replaced by a profound stillness and a groundedness in the present moment. Ben carefully selected a dead branch, its bark flaky, its wood dry and brittle. He positioned his shears, feeling the smooth, cool steel against his hands. With a single, clean cut, the branch fell to the earth with a soft thud. He then moved to an overgrown branch, one that was rubbing against another, creating friction and potential damage. This cut was more deliberate, more strategic, designed to open up the canopy, allowing light and air to penetrate. Each cut, though a removal, was an act of profound care, of visceral awareness of the tree's long-term health. There was no sadness in the act, only a deep sense of purpose, a profound stillness that arose from his deep, focused attention to the intricate, unhurried process of natural transformation. Through this meticulous pruning, Ben realized that the peace he had once desperately sought in preserving everything was actually found in the compassionate act of letting go. He understood that by creating space, by releasing what was no longer vital, he allowed the tree to thrive, to channel its energy towards its strongest, most vibrant parts. This mirrored his own inner journey. By letting go of old resentments, by releasing the need to control every outcome, and by creating clear boundaries in his life, he found a deeper sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. His pruning was not just an act of tree care. It was a testament to his journey of self-knowledge and self-compassion, leading to a deeper sense of groundedness and a seamless integration with life's natural flow. Ben's journey from resisting cuts to embracing the arborist's pruning offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by clinging to the past or by avoiding loss, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by compassionately releasing what no longer serves our highest good. This practice of observing awareness, of understanding our own internal landscape with metta and karuna, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within, a constant process of intentional release and renewal, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment, and an embodiment of our original nature. As Ben stepped back, admiring the newly invigorated oak, its remaining branches reaching towards the sky with renewed vigor, he felt the groundedness that comes from true liberation. This profound understanding of releasing for deeper growth now leads us to consider another form of sustenance, one that relies on a continuous yet controlled flow. Let us now turn our attention to the hydroponic flow, exploring how plants are sustained by a gentle, constant current of nutrient-rich water, offering a powerful metaphor for finding peace in the continuous provision of life, recognizing sufficiency without the need to grasp or hoard, much like the profound stillness that emerges from trusting the natural flow of existence. The hydroponic flow, sustenance in controlled current. In our incessant search for peace, we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of relentless striving, constantly pursuing external sources of security, sustenance, and satisfaction. We believe that we must constantly gather, accumulate, and hoard resources, fearing scarcity and feeling a persistent craving for more, a trishna that keeps us restless and anxious. This attachment to acquisition, this belief that our well-being depends on external accumulation, can lead to a profound suffering, a feeling of never having enough, and an inability to trust in the inherent generosity of life. But what if true, enduring peace, a deep inner freedom, emerges not from grasping, but from recognizing and trusting the continuous gentle flow of life's provisions, from cultivating a profound contentment and sufficiency that allows us to receive what is needed without the need to cling, much like a hydroponic system sustains plants with a constant, controlled current of nutrient-rich water. In a gleaming, temperature-controlled greenhouse, where the air was humid and smelled faintly of fresh. Herbs and mineral-rich water, Maya, a pioneering hydroponic farmer, moved with a quiet, observant grace. Rows of vibrant green lettuce, fragrant basil, and plump tomatoes grew not in soil, but in meticulously engineered channels, their roots bathed in a continuous, gentle current of nutrient-rich water. Her task was to monitor this delicate ecosystem, ensuring the precise balance of water flow, nutrients, and light. The silent, efficient system, providing constant sustenance without the need for traditional earth, offered a powerful contrast to the human tendency towards scarcity and the relentless search for external sources of security. Maya, in her early days, had been trained in traditional farming, where the constant worry about soil quality, rainfall, and pest infestations had created a persistent craving for control, a trishna for guaranteed outcomes. She had spent countless hours tilling, fertilizing, and worrying, believing that her peace of mind depended entirely on her ability to manipulate every variable, leading to a profound suffering rooted in anxiety and an inability to trust the natural processes. She had sought peace in strenuous effort and external control, overlooking the subtle wisdom of a system that provided continuous, effortless sustenance, lacking a deep sense of sufficiency. However, her shift to hydroponics had taught her a profound lesson. She realized that the plants in her system did not strive, they simply received. Their roots, suspended in the flowing water, absorbed exactly what they needed, when they needed it, without grasping or hoarding. The water, a constant, gentle current, continuously delivered sustenance, embodying a profound stillness and an embodiment of non-striving. There was no scarcity, no frantic search for nutrients, only a seamless integration of need and provision. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering concentration to maintain the system's delicate balance, ensuring the continuous, natural flow, or wu-wei, of life-giving resources. This continuous, controlled flow of sustenance in a hydroponic system offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. We often live with a sense of lack, believing that we must constantly strive for more money, more possessions, more approval, to feel secure and content. This craving, or trishna, keeps us in a perpetual state of anxiety and prevents us from recognizing the abundance that is already present in our lives. The hydroponic system teaches us that true inner freedom and profound stillness emerge when we learn to trust in the continuous flow of life's provisions. When we cultivate a deep sense of sufficiency, recognizing that much of what we need is already being supplied, requiring only our open hands and receptive hearts. The Buddhist principle of contentment, or santuti, is beautifully illustrated by the hydroponic plants. They do not strive for more than what the flow provides. They simply absorb what is needed for their healthy growth. Maya's initial suffering stemmed from her craving for control and her fear of scarcity. By learning to trust the hydroponic flow, she cultivated contentment. This practice helps us to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as the absence of inherent, fixed lack, revealing the profound potential for abundance and sufficiency. By cultivating conscious breathing, or anapanasati, and observing awareness, or sati, we connect with our original nature, a state of mushin, or no mind, where the fear of scarcity subsides, replaced by a profound stillness and a groundedness in the present moment. Maya would spend hours simply observing the plants, their vibrant green leaves reaching towards the grow lights, their roots delicately suspended in the flowing water. She felt the subtle viscosity of the nutrient solution, its constant movement a gentle hum in the quiet greenhouse. There was no urgency in their growth, no frantic grasping for more, only a profound stillness, a quiet testimony to the sufficiency of the flow. She found a deep contentment in this observation, a spaciousness in her mind that came from recognizing the inherent generosity of the system, a true embodiment of the Buddha mind. This was a visceral awareness of how letting go of the need to hoard creates space for true flourishing, a deep sense of groundedness. Through this meticulous hydroponic farming, Maya realized that the peace she had once desperately sought in strenuous effort and external control was actually found in the compassionate act of trusting the flow. She understood that by creating a system that provided continuous, effortless sustenance, she allowed the plants to thrive without striving. This mirrored her own inner journey. By letting go of her fear of scarcity, by releasing the need to constantly accumulate, and by trusting in the inherent generosity of life, she found a deeper sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. Her hydroponic system was not just a method of farming, it was a testament to her journey of self-knowledge and self-compassion, leading to a deeper sense of groundedness and a seamless integration with life's natural rhythms. Maya's journey from traditional farming to embracing the hydroponic flow offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by constantly striving for more or by clinging to what we have, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by compassionately trusting in the continuous flow of life's provisions. This practice of observing awareness, of understanding our own internal landscape with metta and karuna, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within, a constant process of recognizing and receiving what is needed, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment, and an embodiment of our original nature. As Maya adjusted a valve, ensuring the steady, gentle current flowed to every plant, she felt the groundedness that comes from trusting in life's natural abundance. This profound understanding of finding sustenance in a controlled current now leads us to consider another form of subtle observation, one that records the Earth's imperceptible shifts. Let us now turn our attention to the seismograph's trace, exploring how silently and objectively recording the Earth's gentle tremors and shifts can provide data without emotional reaction, offering a powerful metaphor for observing our own internal fluctuations without judgment, recognizing subtle shifts as part of natural impermanence, and finding profound stillness in this equanimous observation. The seismograph's trace, recording the Earth's gentle tremors. In our incessant search for peace, we often react to every internal fluctuation, every subtle shift in our emotions or thoughts, with alarm or judgment. We crave a perfectly still mind, an unmoving internal landscape, and when the inevitable tremors of anxiety, sadness, or restlessness arise, we perceive them as threats to our tranquility, leading to a persistent craving for their cessation, a form of trishna that creates profound suffering. This resistance to our own impermanence, this desire for an unchanging self, prevents us from finding the deep stillness that lies in radical acceptance. But what if true, enduring peace, a deep inner freedom, emerges not from eliminating these internal shifts, but from observing them with equanimity, from recognizing them as natural, transient phenomena, much like a seismograph silently and objectively records the Earth's imperceptible tremors, providing data without emotional reaction. In a remote, underground laboratory, far from the vibrations of human activity, where the air was cool and utterly still, Dr. Jianli, a dedicated seismologist, sat before a bank of sensitive instruments. On a long scrolling paper chart, a delicate pen traced a continuous undulating line, silently recording the Earth's imperceptible tremors. The lab was a sanctuary of profound stillness, broken only by the faint whir of the seismograph's motor and the whisper of the pen on paper. His task was to interpret these subtle shifts, to understand the planet's constant dynamic movements without emotional bias. The Earth's surface, though seemingly solid, was in a perpetual state of subtle flux, a mirror to our own often turbulent internal landscapes. Dr. Li, in his early career, had been driven by a craving for dramatic seismic events, for the powerful, earth-shattering quakes that made headlines. He had sought the thrill of immediate, observable impact, believing that true scientific insight lay in the study of catastrophic shifts. This restless striving, this trishna for the spectacular, had inadvertently created a subtle suffering, a feeling of impatience during long periods of quiet geological activity, a sense that nothing significant was happening. He had sought profound insights in the dramatic, overlooking the deeper, more pervasive wisdom embedded in the subtle, continuous movements that shape the planet, lacking a deep sense of equanimity. However, an old, wise mentor, whose hands were as steady as his gaze, had taught Dr. Li a profound lesson. "Jian," the mentor had said, his voice soft yet resonant, "the earth whispers far more often than it shouts. The true story is in the subtle trace, in the constant quiet dance of impermanence." This simple wisdom transformed Dr. Li's understanding. He began to see that the constant, minute tremors, though imperceptible to human senses, were just as vital as the grand quakes, revealing the Earth's continuous process of adjustment and release. It required a profound stillness, a full presence, and an unwavering concentration to observe these subtle shifts without judgment, without craving for them to be different. He learned that the ethical practice, or sila, of objective observation was essential for both scientific understanding and a deeper, more profound sense of peace. This act of the seismograph's trace, of silently and objectively recording internal fluctuations, offers a powerful metaphor for our own lives and our incessant search for peace. Just as the seismograph records every tremor without emotional reaction, we too can cultivate an observing awareness, or sati, of our own internal shifts, our fleeting thoughts, our changing emotions, our bodily sensations, without judgment or attachment. This is a practice of non-striving, allowing us to recognize the impermanence, or anicca, of all internal phenomena, understanding that they arise and pass away naturally. This equanimous observation, or vipassana, is a path, or magga, towards true inner freedom and a profound stillness, an embodiment of radical acceptance. The Buddhist concept of anatta, or no-self, is beautifully illustrated by the seismograph's trace. The line on the chart is not a fixed entity. It is a continuous record of change, a manifestation of impermanence. Similarly, our self is not a solid, unchanging entity, but a collection of interdependent phenomena in constant flux. By observing our internal shifts without clinging to them or pushing them away, we begin to understand sunyata, emptiness, not as nothingness, but as the absence of inherent, fixed identity, revealing the profound interconnectedness of all internal processes. This practice helps us to connect with our original nature, a state of mushin or no mind, where the fear of internal fluctuations subsides, replaced by a profound stillness and a groundedness in the present moment, a true inner freedom. Dr. Li would spend hours simply watching the pen, its delicate tip barely touching the paper, meticulously documenting the Earth's subtle movements. He felt the faint hum of the machine, its rhythmic pulse, a constant reminder of the planet's living presence. There was no urgency in the Earth's shifts, no frantic grasping for stability, only a profound stillness, a quiet testimony to continuous transformation. He found a deep contentment in this observation, a spaciousness in his mind that came from recognizing the inherent wisdom in allowing things to simply be, a true embodiment of the Buddha mind. This was a visceral awareness of how letting go of the need to control creates space for true flourishing, a deep sense of groundedness. Through this meticulous observation with the seismograph, Dr. Li realized that the peace he had once desperately sought in the absence of dramatic events was actually found in the compassionate, patient engagement with the subtle, continuous shifts. He understood that his own internal fluctuations, when observed with equanimity and non-attachment, were not obstacles, but natural expressions of his living being. By allowing them to arise and pass away without judgment, he found a deeper sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. His seismograph was not just a scientific instrument, it was a metaphor for his own conscious awareness, a testament to his journey of self-knowledge and self-compassion, leading to a deeper sense of groundedness and a seamless integration with life's natural flow. Dr. Lee's journey from seeking dramatic events to embracing the seismograph's subtle trace offers a powerful insight into our incessant search for peace. True and lasting tranquility is not found by striving for an unchanging internal state or by avoiding discomfort, but by cultivating deep self-knowledge, by compassionately observing and accepting all our internal fluctuations as natural expressions of impermanence. This practice of observing awareness, of understanding our own internal landscape with metta and karuna, allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with greater inner freedom and equanimity. It is a reminder that the peace we seek is not a destination to be reached, but a capacity to be cultivated within, a constant process of recognizing and accepting what is, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency and contentment, and an embodiment of our original nature. Now, as these narratives settle within your mind, allow your awareness to gently return to your body, feeling the soft support beneath you, the quiet rhythm of your own breath. There is nothing more you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. You are here, in this moment, held by the simple act of breathing, and that, in itself, is enough. You have journeyed through stories of profound stillness, discovering that peace is not an elusive prize to be chased, but a quality that emerges from within, from a compassionate engagement with the intricate mechanics of your own being, from a radical acceptance of life's natural flow. As you prepare for a night of deep, restorative sleep, release any lingering thoughts or concerns. Let them drift away like the subtle tremors on a seismograph, observed without judgment, allowed to pass. Trust in the inherent wisdom of your body to rest, to rejuvenate, to find its own profound stillness. You are safe, you are held, and you are worthy of this peace. Allow yourself to sink deeper into the comfort of your surroundings, letting each exhale carry away any remaining tension, any last vestiges of the incessant search. You already carry within you all the wisdom, all the compassion, and all the peace you seek. These stories have merely served as gentle reminders, reflections of what already resides in your original nature, your Buddha mind. There is a deep contentment in simply being, in the sufficiency of this present moment, in the quiet miracle of your own existence. As you drift into sleep, know that this inner sanctuary, this profound stillness, is always accessible to you, a source of unwavering peace. May your dreams be filled with tranquility, and may you awaken refreshed, grounded, and deeply at peace. If these words have resonated with something deep within you, if this space has offered a moment of quiet solace, we gently invite you to subscribe. By doing so, you help sustain this sanctuary, ensuring that this harbor of peace remains available for you and for others whenever you need to return, whenever you seek this quiet communion with your inner self. Rest well, beloved listener.